This is not a secret. Humans evolved as apex predators. And in many cases, a majority of our diet was meat.
Yeah.
And given the choice, humans would choose to eat meat over plants, right? So humans were apex predators. We ate a lot of animals, or at least the ones that survived it, and we just co-evolved with that. And so we became better at utilizing those sources of protein. So just gram per gram, it's just better for you. So go for the animal sources. Let me put it this way. You can eat less animal protein and get the same benefit as eating more plant protein. All right, let's talk about protein. Gram per gram, gram versus gram, okay? Animal protein is more effective at building muscle, at recovery, at satiety. It's more bioavailable to your body. So if you have to pick between plant protein and animal protein, choose animal protein.
Okay, now in the context of getting a surplus of protein, how much does that still matter?
Not that much. Yeah, I just read a study though that showed that animal proteins are just utilized by human cells much higher rates at higher rates, I should say, than plant proteins. Now, what you said, Adam, is real important. If your protein intake is really high, what do I mean by really high? Like 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight, or a gram of protein per pound of body weight. Really doesn't matter if it's plant protein, animal protein. You're getting so much protein, so many amino acids, that it doesn't make that big of a difference. However, how many people eat that much protein per day?
Yeah,
right. Most don't.
Yeah,
most do not. It's rare that somebody eats that much protein unless they're really focused on it. So for most people who eat, the average amount of protein every day, you want to go for the animal stuff. It's just more bioavailable and more effective for your body. Plant proteins and all the studies, when they compare them against each other, just not as effective.
Even the vegan studies?
Yeah. Say what?
Even the vegan studies?
It's true. All of them. All of them do. Yeah. And I have this conversation, I'm bringing this up because there was a study that was posted. I belong to all these forums on Facebook. It's kind of a hack that I came up with, like how I can learn about different subjects.
Groups.
In fast ways.
That's what I call them.
What are they?
Nerd groups.
Nerd groups. So I go on there and I look for groups about specific.
You try to be the president.
Where I can argue with people online.
Yeah.
Check this study out.
That's the face I make. No, I just observed.
Who's the leader of this group?
Let me speak to your leader.
Excuse me, I have some questions.
Yeah, look at these guys.
I can see.
Make fun of me.
Sorry.
But when
Bring me your leader.
You're real happy. When the cameras turn off, Adam's like, "Hey Sal, I got 5 questions."
True story. I did send him some stuff last night.
That's where the best content comes from.
No, but so I belong to these groups, I belong to technology groups and groups on medicine or whatever. And so there's a group that I belong to, and someone posted this study that showed that animal proteins are just more, that human cells utilize them more effectively and efficiently. And underneath it, of course, you get the vegan who's like, yeah, but animal sources cause this, that, which we can talk about those studies, and they're all pretty much garbage. If you eat a healthy diet, balanced diet seems to be best generally. Of course, there's differences.
Is it because there's sort of, there's plant toxins, all these, there's a lot of things that have been sort of brought to attention from the carnivore camps.
Yeah.
But really, is it just about you have to break down more things to be able to get to the nutrients versus the animal source is pretty much ready to go?
Probably.
Or is it because there's things that are inside meat that we still don't even know that are beneficial to the body?
Right.
Well, okay. I mean, the prevailing theory, and again, so the reason why I like these groups is really smart people that are in them for whatever the subject is, and so you see these debates and discussions. And I mean, look, this is not a secret. Humans evolved as apex predators, and in many cases, a majority of our diet was meat.
Yeah.
And given the choice, humans would choose to eat meat over plants. But this is agricultural revolution, right? Before modern agriculture and grocery stores. Like if we threw people in the woods and they had the choice of eating fish or elk, or grabbing berries and random plants that grow, they're going to pick the animal, right? So humans were apex predators. We ate a lot of animals, or at least the ones that survived it, and we just co-evolved with that. And so we became better at utilizing those sources of protein. So just gram per gram, it's just better for you. So unless you're eating a super high protein diet, your main protein sources, of course, if you're against eating animals and all that stuff for moral reasons, it's totally different. But if it doesn't matter to you, go for the animal sources. Let me put it this way. You can eat less animal protein and get the same benefit as eating more plant protein. That's the difference. You'd have to eat more plant protein to equal less animal protein. Now, if they're all high through the roof, 1 gram per pound of body weight, then it doesn't matter so much. But again, I don't know anybody that eats that way except for people who track and really make a point to do so. What's up, everybody? We're back from Mexico. If you're wondering why we look so tanned and relaxed, well, that's why. Anyway, here's the giveaway. MAPS Aesthetic. This is a bodybuilding-inspired workout program. It's the program Adam used to get in shape to win his pro card when he used to compete in men's physique. Anyhow, I'm going to give it away for free. Here's how you can win. Leave a comment below in the first 24 hours that we drop this episode. Subscribe to this channel. Turn on notifications. Do all those things. If we like your comment, we'll pick your comment and we'll notify you, and you'll get free access to MAPS Aesthetic. Now, we also have a sale going on right now. So the RGB bundle, which is MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, MAPS Aesthetic, those 3 very popular workout programs are bundled together. That entire bundle is 50% off. By the way, that also includes some free giveaways, Kettlebell for Aesthetics, the Sexy Athlete Mod, and the Butt Builder Blueprint. So that's all included in that, and that's also 50% off. We also have an individual MAPS program that's on sale. MAPS Suspension. This is a suspension trainer-based workout program. It's good for people who don't have any equipment or limited space or time. Build your body using just suspension trainers. That program is also 50% off. So if you're interested, go to mapsfitnessproducts.com and then use the coupon code July50, that's July 50 with no space, for the 50% off discount. All right, here comes the show.
What did you guys think of vacationing together?
I'd never doing it again. You guys
Never again.
No, it was a great time.
Stuck with you guys.
I had a lot of, you know what I enjoyed the most was hanging out with your guys' kids. I don't get an opportunity to really hang out with the kids.
Uncle Sal time.
Yeah, see them hanging out and playing. And
no, it was cool. Yeah,
there was some fun moments. Max and Aurelius were really cute. You know, hugging each other and playing. And then there was one. I told Justin this. So my daughter she's a huge horror film fanatic. I think I've told you guys. She's a really dark sense of humor. She likes really scary shit. She's about to turn 13. She loves that stuff. Doug's daughter Bree is older. She likes it too. And Ethan was like, hey, I'm going to watch some scary movies, right? But he's not really into them or hasn't been.
Dude, he got the trial by fire.
Yeah, dude. So first night they watch The Purge. Not really a scary movie, but still kind of stressful. Actually, and so Ethan afterwards, I'm like, was it scary? What'd you think? And he's like, well, it was more stressful than scary. So I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, next night I walk downstairs and I'm looking, I'm like, what are you guys watching? Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, okay, let's see what happens, right?
Oh yeah, you're going to pro status here, huh?
So I go in the kitchen and I'm making some popcorn because I planned on sitting with them. Anyway, I got caught up in a discussion with Jessica. So we're in the kitchen for like 25 minutes, right? So 25 minutes later, the kids walk in the kitchen. I'm like, oh, what happened? You guys not watching the movie? And Ethan goes, as soon as he ripped the old lady's face off and put it on like a mask, I knew that I probably shouldn't watch this movie.
It was in over my head.
Bro, I was dying. Bro.
There's another level of scary.
I was dying of laughter.
Well, yeah, there's levels, buddy. Yeah.
You've heard me actually talk about what my buddies used to do because I was the one who doesn't like scary movies. So that is actually one of the last so I don't remember what year it's the newer Chainsaw Massacre, right? So when the newer one came out, which is still a long time ago, it's still an old movie.
Yeah.
I think we were in high school, maybe junior college.
The one with Jessica Biel.
Oh,
maybe could you check the date on it, Doug, if it's the one I'm thinking of? That when it came out, I think I described to you, right? They're on some country road. Yeah, right. At the very, that's how it starts. It opens up with
it's just gratuitous. Just
but that was the last movie I recall. When I tell you guys, my buddies used to do that to me, where they were like, let's make Adam watch this, you know. And you're calling. I'm like, we're in high school, I think, at that time. So we'll see when the date comes up. If that's how old.
Which movie is it?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, the original is 1974.
No, but there was
the
a
original.
remake.
There's one in the 90s.
Okay.
There was one in the 90s, mid to late 90s.
I want to say 99. I think
that's a good guess, which would put me as a senior in high school.
2003 is when it looks.
Oh wow.
Okay, so you were in college.
Yeah,
you're a little older.
So I definitely can't back.
So you're a grown man.
Hey,
but
so
anyway.
I can't back down to my buddies calling me out that I can't watch it. Right. So that's where we're at. We're at and that was the last one that I remember. Doing that where they would make me watch it just so they could watch my reactions.
And that was it. After that, I'm done. Dude.
Yeah, I'm done. That's it. I'm not gonna let anybody bully me into watching these things anymore. It's miserable. Was it really 2003? So yeah, I'm
2003.
I'm like 19, 20 at that point, something like that.
What?
Yeah, I think the last one I watched
graduated
was
high school
Man.
at 17 years old in 99.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
that would be right. Did I
So
do my
you're
math?
18, 19, or
Fuzzy
20,
math.
You're pretty close.
Yeah.
20 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was just funny because he was self-aware enough to say it. So yeah, as soon as he ripped her face off, that's what I knew.
I'm glad he didn't have like super nightmares. Well, because Everett, he always wants to do whatever his brother's doing.
Yeah.
And all that. And so I think he actually started upstairs with them. And then I was like, buddy, like, I just don't feel like we're ready right now, to go to that level. Like, and so I had to like figure something out. And so we actually just introduced him to Stranger Things because it was like sort of, I thought it was just an introduction enough into kind of scarier, eerie stuff. And so we actually started all the way back from the beginning, which is cool. But now I'm like, I was just on the new season, like 2 episodes in, and now I got to go all the way back. And like, dude, we're only on like, season 2, almost finishing that up. And I'm like,
well,
man.
plus Stranger Things got more horror as it went along. Like in the beginning, it was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was like a
kinda
slow
scary.
drip.
The last season was pretty gnarly. I just finished watching it. It's like it harkens back to like the 1980s kind of horror.
I
movies.
love it so much. Dude. It's all set in the 80s, so much nostalgia. And like, I rewatching a lot of the old episodes too. You're like, oh yeah, dude, they did such a good job.
Yeah, they
Well,
did.
going back to our vacation, I was most impressed with the fact that we pretty much live with each other here already and work with each other 24/7. And then we're able to like, and we were in a house where we weren't leaving. I mean, we pretty much were all there together 24/7 for a week, and nobody got into it. Nobody
We scratched each other.
yeah, why would we get into it?
Oh,
We're all
dude,
grown.
Come on. People that spouses that live with each other and see each other every day and get into it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and they're married to each other and love each other.
We're
In
just
fact,
professionals at avoiding each other.
yeah,
you know,
I thought
and
that we
need
did
to.
a really good job of like, we shut down. That was the most shut down I have personally been in a really, really long time. Like normally it takes me about 48 hours to like decompress and like I'm technically in vacation. I was in vacation mode within the first 45 minutes. Dude had
Almost
me a pina
immediately.
colada sitting out by the pool. I was
Dude,
like,
we were drinking
I'm-
Coronas in the car.
Yeah, that's right. I was even before that.
Yeah,
You're right.
how's the rules work over there? That's what I don't understand. So you get in the car.
Apparently that's okay.
The dude picks you up, and he's got a cooler with beer.
Yeah.
And he throws beers in the back. Here you go, guys. I'm like, what?
It's great tradition.
have-
I don't know who
I'm-
started that.
Yeah, there's different rules in Mexico. The pharmacy in Mexico, this was great. I went to like 5 different pharmacies because I cannot believe the shit that you could buy over the counter in Mexico. You can buy anything.
Yeah.
Anything over the counter, advertised.
Pretty much.
You want muscle relaxant? You want painkillers? You want opiates? You want? I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
It's all over the counter.
I mean, that has to be big business for them because it's on almost every corner.
Well, I'm sure Americans
you see,
go
you
down
see,
there and buy a
oh
bunch
yeah,
of
you
shit.
see a pharmacia, and then you see 2 stores down another one. It's like, god damn, that's super competitive.
Did you guys have there was this one lady on the street trying to sell stuff, and she was like, "You want bigger boners?"
Wow.
I'm like, "Whoa, lady, I got kids. Like, like you need to change your approach."
But hey, meet me over there. Real
But
quick.
also,
Your wife's like,
here's $20.
He does.
What's that gonna get me? Yeah. Basically.
around the corner.
Yeah.
Hey, come here. Yes, give me the boner pill for my.
You guys got dark, and I just kind of got more freckly.
Yeah, you did all right.
no, you
you
got
actually did all
you
right.
got
I'm
color.
surprised.
I pushed the limits because I was
He was trying to compete with me. I'm like, you can't do it.
I was focused on Bree, to be honest with you. I was
You're
trying to
gonna
catch
catch up.
Bree is where I was really
You
going.
set your limits.
Yeah, I did. I was like, I wasn't even thinking about you. I was thinking about, I'm gonna get Bree. And then she went out there and read her book out on the beach one day, and it was like, that was toast. It's like, I'm not catching her now for sure.
Yeah.
But I actually, I now, as a kid, which I think I think you're still like this. Do you not have to use sunscreen at all?
I do for the first day or two if I stay out.
Okay,
long.
so
after that I don't have to.
So when I was a kid, I had none. It could be out in the sun all day long, and I just got darker. I never got sunburned or anything. As I got into my 20s, another weird thing that changed for me was I could get sunburned, or I would actually get these sun blotches or like almost like rashes. So I don't really get like a red.
do you
burn.
think it's just because you're not in the sun a lot anymore? And when you were a kid, you always
totally.
were. So
Totally. I think my body, because then I go under these fluorescent lights working in the gym industry, and then I go back thinking I can still handle the sun the way I did, and then my body goes, no, you can't. So anyways, I have to now wear suntan lotion, but I was still like pushing the limits on how long I was out there for. And by about day 4 or so, that's why you saw the last day I was like in the shade because I was like, God damn it, like I went too hard and it got all rashy. But you know what I used? And I don't know if I'm supposed to or not, but I used, I had my Caldera with me. And so I rubbed that on there, and it sure as shit felt and looked better the next day.
Yeah, it's
So I don't know if there's
anti-inflammatory.
anything in there. Oh, really?
Yeah, anti-inflammatory, and it's got compounds in there that help with damage, with skin damage. So in the studies they did with Caldera, you see reduction in fine lines, sunspots, healthier skin because of that.
Yeah,
So it
Katrina
makes
thought I
sense.
was crazy because I come out and I was all oiled up. She's
You're
like, how's that going to help your
It's gonna
sunburn?
attract all the
I'm like,
sun.
no. I said, I'm not. It's the Caldera. I tried to put it down, and it did. I mean, I felt how dry my skin was too, and I felt like it soaked it all up.
Mine was real dry. Yeah, I was like actually putting it on my heels because they're like all cracked at that point. And I was like, ow, like it hurts to walk. Like what's happening? You know, it's of course I just never even consider I have dry skin.
I'll tell you the one thing that I'm glad I skipped out on was the fishing trip that you guys went on.
Oh, you
I
dodged a
knew that
massive
shit would
bullet on
happen.
that one.
Oh, maybe that's why. Maybe you jinxed
Yeah,
us, dude.
dude.
No, what? How the hell are you gonna blame it on me?
That is the first fishing trip that I've done, like one of the like what you pay for, right? So I've done fishing trips before where I caught no fish, but if one of those we take you out on the boat, like I've done that quite a few times now, and every time it's been like super successful, and we always come back with a bunch of fish. So the theory, okay, the idea in my head was actually like trying to save us money. It's like, and be fun, right? Take the boys out fishing, everyone get to experience it together, and then we catch all this fish. And then we're going to have somebody prepare it for us all week. And so we wouldn't have to spend so much on groceries. Like that was the thought.
No, dude, I get a text from my son because he went with you guys, and he's like, I'm like, hey, how you doing out there? He's, I'm laying down. I'm so seasick. I'm like, oh crap, because it was choppy.
It was horrible.
The whole boat?
Doug, you puked a bunch, right?
Yeah, 3 times.
Wow.
And not just one time. I like 3 or 4 times each time. I just power.
So you did 3 sets of like 10 reps.
Yeah,
basically.
basically.
Power vomiting.
He was like over the side of the boat doing
Oh
it.
yeah,
Bro,
man. I
it's
just
the
put my head over.
It's the worst.
let it
If you've
rip.
ever had seasickness, it's the worst because it's so exhausting. Because all your senses are fighting or whatever.
It's like
So-
you don't recover.
No, you're ruined for like a day or 2. I've been ruined for 2 days before from extreme motion sickness.
Well, you're
For
super
jet-
sensitive to this stuff. You can't even sit in the backseat of a car like a little kid. I gotta sit in the front. I need to see the window.
Yeah.
Dude, well, this is why like fishermen are so like superstitious, like anything goes wrong, all of a sudden they'll just like look around and what's
So,
the blame?
Well, I knew it was a bad idea when we got to the place, and the guy tells me that the last 3 days, no boats had caught any
we
fish.
should have listened to that guy.
But it was already too late. They already had our money at that point.
That's true.
So what are the kinds of fish you could catch out there?
El Dorado, which is basically mahi mahi, same thing
Okay.
they call it El Dorado there. It was striped marlin, and I forget what other type of marlin season. So that would be
Wait, like a
Yeah.
legit marlin,
Yeah,
big
it's
old
like
one.
tro-
with-
Trophy
sport
fish, yeah.
that's why it was so exciting. Was I
I
mean,
know, we were hoping for that.
June and July are prime months for the marlin out there. Which every time I've gone towards the winter time.
Mm-hmm.
And in the wintertime, that's when El Dorado is like, everyone's catching El Dorado like crazy. But that's the better tasting fish. So, but the trophy fish would have been the marlin.
Well, I'll tell you the best meal I had out there was the last day. The last day we were there. So you guys weren't there, right? So we went downtown because we had to check out, and we had some time before we went to the airport. And the driver, we asked him, what's a good taco place? And he gives us the name. I can't remember the name of the place. He gives us the name of some place. So we said, okay, we're going to eat there for lunch. So we're hanging out, and then it was time to go eat lunch. So we're walking to find it, and it's a hole in the wall taco place.
Taco
Like,
Goose.
it was okay. It's like a little
GUSS.
yeah, like cash only or whatever. No AC. Like there's a fan
I mean,
blowing.
the place was like a dirt hole.
Yeah, and we're it's hot and everything. And I'm like, oh man. And of course, the kids are like, oh, I want air conditioning, whatever. Dude, the tacos were fire.
Yeah.
He brought those things out, and I was like, this is the best tacos I've
I
ever
wish I
seen.
remembered all. I know Courtney made at least wrote down one, right? Of the
Yeah,
ones
we have
that-
a couple that
Tom actually researched all the last time that we went, all of us went to Cabo, like all the hole in the wall places, and we like went round every day. We went to one or two of them, and they were all fire. I know she brought us back to one of the ones.
Yeah, we
but
went to one of them.
There were a couple, and I don't know if it was the one I don't think it was the one we went to. That was one of my favorites that Tom took us to, but I wonder if it's one of the same ones because
So good.
it was definitely a shithole.
Yeah.
It was they all were. The best ones were the ones that looked like, oh
It's-
my god.
by the way,
hell
it's-
sketch.
I know.
By the way, it's like that here in San Jose too.
Yeah,
the best
that's true.
taco places in San Jose
That's
are
true.
the ones that look like it's
East
someone's
side San
garage.
Jose. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
some of the best. I've had tacos out of someone's trunk out of the car. I swear to God. I am not joking.
Ooh, authentic.
It was so good, bro. Like,
That's like the word you just use.
all these are real.
Authentic.
If they came out of the trunk.
What made me think about us and like still being able to get no one actually fighting. There was no rifts at all. It was really an incredible vacation. So that when I came back, I watched the All In podcast is back to their regular recording of the four. I don't know if you watched it or not, but there was a bunch of controversy.
Yeah, one of the was it JCal wanted a greater percentage of the podcast. Yeah, so they're debating back and forth, and
they debated it on the podcast.
I find it really interesting. They're all multi. I mean, you have 100 millionaire. You have someone who's worth like 500 million.
Yeah,
I mean,
seems
I think JCal is like the tightest, and he's still worth tens of millions of dollars. They're all worth a lot of money.
Yeah,
and they're squabbling over like literally percent.
But here's the learning part. That's true. But they're all shrewd business people. But they all got along and they did it and they dropped it.
Yeah.
See, a lot of people let that get in the way, and then screw you. I'm not going to be.
It's whatever. Also early and it's very small in the business too. The fact that has happened already is crazy to me.
I know.
It highlights again. I think that what we talked about. I was just talking. My uncle and aunt came and visited me this weekend. And he was asking all kinds. I haven't seen them in a long time, and he was getting all caught up on the business. And the number one thing that my family or friends or people that I tell the story about how this all started and everything like that is the four owner thing. Everybody always trips out about that. Wait, there's four. You guys are equal. They're all equal. And what are the positions and how does that work? And and you guys you haven't fought over all this money and done. It's like no, it hasn't been that way. Everybody is. Well, there's got to be somebody who does more of the work or this. Like that's what everybody comes down to. Which to me, that's what that highlighted. It's like no doubt that JCal in that situation in All In, like he organizes the podcast, he organizes Summit, so rightfully so. He probably, but I think back to all the ups and downs and things that we've done over the last 7-8 years, and I think there's a time at every point in this business where somebody can make the case that they're doing more work than everybody else.
Yeah, and also
there's a time when Sal 100% was buried in his book, writing for 8 hours a day, or researching something that with the rest of us were at home probably not doing anything. Or there's definitely been plenty of times where Doug is up till 2 a.m. trying to get accounting stuff together. So that right. There's definitely been times when Justin just went through a hell of a shit show the last month and a half of all the push that we did with all the programming and launches that we did and revamping and doing more video shoots. So there's times where everybody, I think, feels like they probably.
I've watched enough of those, like true Hollywood stories to know not to let ego. Like how many bands have been destroyed because lead singer's head gets too big, or everybody gets
almost
jealous,
all of them, or their lead singer just like takes too many drugs and then it's over.
Yeah. We don't take that many drugs.
I was impressed though that I would, to your point about them still being able to like, we all love each other and still move forward, because Jason Calcanis was making the point that, I couldn't imagine if I was actually telling one of you that you were replaceable.
Yeah, he was saying that. What is
because they had so check this out, okay? And remember when we did this? Remember we had times where we subbed out and only 2 guys did the show way back when? Yeah. He was using the numbers on, hey, when we had so-and-so on the show and you weren't here, our numbers were up. So he was like literally making the dude feel replaceable.
That's like stuff we'll joke about. He's like being serious.
Yeah, that would be a funny jab, but he was like serious about it.
Wow.
So it's amazing that didn't cause more division.
Oh, dude. So I got to tell this story, right?
Funny.
So this is funny. So when we're there were also people in the house that were, working in the house, right? So either cleaners or people preparing food and stuff. And one of the guys there, Alan is his name, so give him a shout out. Real nice guy.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's like, what do you guys do? And he spoke English pretty well. And I said, we have a fitness podcast and we work in health and whatever. And so he's asking me questions and he's like, me and my friend have a debate. Is green juice healthy or not? So we got this whole discussion about whether or not green juice is healthy. And I was telling him, I told him about Organifi, obviously, because we work with them. And I said, it's if you don't eat enough vegetables, then it's fine. It's good. If you do eat enough vegetables, whole food's always the best. It's always better than supplements. But if you miss them, like a lot of people, then the green juice powder, like the one from Organifi, is going to be really good. So we got into that conversation. So that was day one, right? Anyway, like 2 days later, he comes up to me and he goes, Sal, you want to know what's crazy? I said, what? and he plays a video of me.
Yeah.
And so it's that, okay, so it's that clip, that one clip.
Same clip that keeps
The
going.
Man
by.
Who Loves the Journey one, right? That I'm so sick of seeing because it's been shared.
Yeah.
And I know but in the one that Jessica made, my wife, she's like, of all the things you say, that's the dumbest one. That's the one that's getting shared. I'm like, what do you mean it's the dumbest one? Anyway, so he's showing me the clip and he goes,
most mainstream.
he goes, my friend sent this to me and said, you need to listen to this. It's super motivating. Not knowing that he was working with us at the house or whatever.
Yeah, he
She's
was
like,
in the house with us.
so he's showing, and it's I'm speaking, but it's subtitled in Spanish. So apparently there's clips out there of shit that we're saying.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Subtitled in Spanish.
The best was
which is super
the
cool.
joke. Remember the joke of the week? The joke of the week after that was that we're going to be walking out in Cabo, and someone's going to be like, "Oh, man without the journey,
Man without the journey. Can you sign my shirt?
Well, I'll run right past Justin and I.
Yeah.
Man, journey man.
Hey, can you take a picture of me and Man with Journey?
No, dude.
Like, yeah, no problem, dude.
But it did make me think. That market is really. A really valuable market, and they're like 5 years behind.
Yeah, you remember when we first started, we did that one girl's radio show.
Yeah,
I can't remember her name or the radio station we went. It was
yeah.
L.A. right? Doug?
It was
L.A.
Was it at was it part of Telemundo's?
Not
Yeah,
Telemundo, was it? It was
Univision.
Univision.
Yeah.
it was
Yeah, there you
Univision.
go. Sorry.
Yeah, and she was saying that. She was saying how desperate.
Well,
that
obesity in Latin America has exploded. Okay, is exploded. Mexico in
Yeah,
particular.
they need a lot of help.
And they're very interested in health and fitness.
Yeah.
And a lot of the information they're getting is like 10 years behind.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think it would be smart for us to have something that maybe the clips, like, so we have a Mind Pump clips channel. A lot of people don't know this on YouTube.
Oh, I'm
or we
glad
have
you brought that up because
short clips of us saying things. I think it would be smart to have some of those, in subtitles so people can access them.
But
as
back
well.
to the green juice, I could see the skepticism though, because any podcast you listen to, they have like some kind of green juice attached. There's lots of brands out there. I'm not going to throw too much shade, but there's not a whole lot of high quality versions of it out there. So you got to be kind of careful with what you're out there buying, just like any other supplement.
Yeah, how many people just like mow some grass and then throw it in? I mean, with
Shavings,
supplement
dude.
business, you could get away with so much stuff.
Or green high C. So what were you going to say about the clips?
No, I'm just glad you brought it up because we've had so many people that thought there's people that think that we got rid of it, right? Because we used to put the clips on the same channel as the podcast channel. And then people thought that we just stopped doing that. And there's I actually know a lot of people that don't listen to the whole show and they actually like it in the little
They're easy to share and stuff too. So it's Mind Pump Clips, I think is the name of the
on
channel.
YouTube. So I do have something that I want to ask you guys that came up. So today we have live callers, and we had this girl that's working for a high school that gets like these recruited kids ready for D1. And Justin and I were both like, man, that would be so cool. I would love our kids to go to that school or whatever like that. And got me to thinking a question that I wanted to ask you guys, because I know we also have a mutual friend who I believe did do this with their kids, or he did it, one or the other, can't remember. Would you guys consider sending your kids off for high school to another state, to like a school like that?
High school?
Yes.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do one of those boarding schools. I have a friend that's doing that.
Yeah.
Same guy probably.
Yeah, I think
sends his kid off to boarding school.
Yes.
No, I don't. You know why? Because now they're not just teaching your kid; they're raising your kid.
So you have a snap judgment no to that. I don't have a snap no to that.
Yeah, I know. It depend for me. I guess them approaching me with the idea. Obviously, if like one of my kids was like really motivated to do that, and like I saw a lot of like talent potential in that direction, and like they're arguing with me a good case for it, and like you saw the track record of all the students that then resulted in like the.
It sounds like no way. Dude.
Yeah, like obviously it would kill me inside to be away from my kid, dude. Don't get me wrong.
Me
It would
too.
kill
It's not
me.
just that, but those are formidable years. You're talking about 13, 14, and up.
No, you're talking about high school.
Yeah, high school. So how old are you when you're freshmen?
Yeah,
15.
14, 15. Okay, so 15.
15 to 18.
You're asking those people not just to teach your kid, but to raise your kid. Now they're raising
partially.
your kid too.
I mean, okay. The argument with that. So I'm going to challenge that. Care play devil's
So if
advocate.
they come back for the summer, I mean, that doesn't play any factor for
okay,
you.
2 months out of the year.
Well, I mean, here's the deal. Like, your kid's high school is raising your kid right now, anyways.
Not the same.
I mean,
still see my kids still come home every day.
Yeah,
after
but let's
school.
be honest with yourself. How many days out of the week do you actually sit down and then break down what he learned today and then challenge it or agree with it?
It's not just that. It's about being around, bring around your house.
I'm with
being in
Justin.
culture.
So I knew this would create a good discussion between us because we wouldn't all see eye to eye on it, because when with you, if let's say, this would matter, right? It wouldn't. I would never just send my kid to a boarding school.
No, I'm not trying to.
But if I had a son or a daughter,
You send him to Xavier School for the Gifted.
I would send him to
Develop their
X-Men.
powers.
I would send him to X-Men
Yeah.
school.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
If my kid was a mutant, I would do the same thing.
yeah.
I can't handle this. You keep setting the house on fire.
No,
go to this school.
If my son
Control
or
your
daughter
powers.
exhibited real talent, whether that be in music or that be in sports or something like that, and there was a school like the one we were talking to with this girl that had an extremely strong program and they have a great pathway for them to potentially become pros.
Bro, I don't trust anybody with my kids 24 hours a day except for people I really, really fucking
Scared.
know. Well, of course, it's my kids.
Yeah.
I mean, look, okay.
Yeah, but to that point, dude, just because they're in the same town as you doesn't make that any more or less scary.
Yes, it does. Not scary. Just they're with me. I can keep my finger on the pulse. I can see what's going on.
Be a better helicopter dad.
I mean, look, it didn't have to be about helicopter. It's that they're there. You can watch them. Look, you're going to send your kid off. Fine, they're talented. Let's say they want to play music and they want to be, a classically trained pianist. So they go to this gifted musical school and they're out of the state. They're somewhere else. You're not there all the time to keep your finger on. Maybe the pressure's too high. Maybe they're trying to impress you and they, it's how are you going to know? How are you going to know what's going on? Hey, son, how you doing?
You
Oh, it's all
can
good.
Zoom call them every day for an hour.
I don't know.
not the
I honestly it's a completely individual thing. Like if I saw a lot of real potential and they were in a setting where it's going to foster the growth of their success, I would feel like I was robbing them of that opportunity.
How
They
hard
could still get
bro,
that opportunity.
imagine how hard it would be to say no if they
tough.
really wanted to do that. I definitely wouldn't send my kid off because I think this is a better education, and that's me imposing my thing on them. But if my son or daughter we went there, we toured the school, and he's like, Dad, can I come here? And he really wanted to go there, and it was all those great things. I'd have a really hard time telling him
I would
no.
convince you guys not to. No way I'd let you guys do that to your kids.
It's
Doug,
a tough one because
where you at, Doug?
I'm pretty torn on this one.
when do you let the youngling fly out from the nest?
Of course, the non-athletic
Oh,
guy.
I
Right?
think-
What's the age?
I think
that
college
they're
is good.
appropriate?
No, I
Okay.
think college is good. I think that those young mid-teen ages, those mid-teen and up. Come on, man. Who knows? Like, you don't know what's going on over there. You don't know the
I
people.
feel that way with junior high, 100%.
There's gotta be
high
s-
school. I'm a little more
You don't know the kids they're with, who they're sleeping with.
Come
in the
on,
bar.
Well, you would.
you don't
You'd
know
go
that
to
when
the
they
school,
live with
you'd-
you. Come on.
Well,
you
come
know
on.
more.
again, you'd have to vet it out, definitely, right? And you'd have to see the track record. You meet all the teachers, you do your homework. You're not just sending them off.
Bro,
to a bunch
Kyle,
of
you let him go or you don't let
random
him go? You let him go or don't let him go?
When I was in high school, I definitely would have wanted to. I don't know if it'd be best for me though.
Yeah, so he agrees with me.
That's what you got out of that?
I don't think it would be a good idea.
You're on my team, dude.
He knows.
You're my team.
He knows. Look,
No,
have you seen these? Find me one kid that's fucking normal that at 15 years old goes hardcore in some kind of sport or endeavor. Yeah, they become a star, maybe track athlete or amazing golfer, but they're all messed up, dude. Look at child celebrities with all that talent.
That's a big generalization.
Well, okay,
Yeah,
find me some that
yeah.
turned out freaking amazing. That turned
you
out
probably
normal and
could,
balanced.
but we don't have it in front of us.
Look, what's his name? Tiger Woods, greatest golfer of all time. He was since he was a kid. Come on,
But that's different. That was them hammering him and not giving him any social
That's what you're
life.
asking for.
No, you're lumping a lot of things into
That's-
one
that's-
conversation here. That's
that's
not,
a different
not the same
conversation.
thing. That's a dad who was obsessive from the kid being 3 years old all the way on.
What do you think's gonna happen when you send your kid to a school like that? They're obsessive.
Yeah, he's asking for
Exactly. The kids
That's-
pulling
that would be-
for
that would-
15-year-olds ask for all kinds of crazy shit. You don't mean you say yes.
Well, you're right. You're right.
Sure.
And there's a lot of things I'd probably say no to, but that is a situation where it could potentially better him and move him forward in a pursuit that I see passion in him about,
Yeah.
and I want to help foster
I'd find
that.
one close by is what I would do.
And honestly, I mean,
if that worked out. I mean,
yeah, if there was that perfect situation, but I mean, even that girl with that school, I don't know any schools, any high schools that are doing that for the basketball players right now, and that have that kind of record where they're
How
sending
much you
kids-
want to bet? How much? Well, I don't want to say. I bet you a lot of the kids that go to I bet you there's a good percentage of kids that go to these schools that get recruited for sports, where it is a clearly better option because maybe they're growing up in they're underprivileged. Maybe it's a single parent. They get recognized because they play really good sports.
Sure.
And mom is like, I could barely afford to support you. I'm working by myself. You go to this school with all these kids that are not doing so great. Yes, I'll send you over there. Now, if you got my kids have a great house. We have good, environment, good family. Everybody's taken care of or whatever. Good. like, what's the benefit? I don't see a huge benefit to going somewhere like now. If I was struggling and I'm like, oh my God,
Come on, you know that. I mean, that's like comparing the why you have your kid in a private school versus having your kid in a public school.
Yeah,
right
but I'm
now.
not sending them away.
But yeah, it's to the point of the argument you're making right there. I don't see the benefit. Yes, you do. You see the benefit of putting him in an organized school where the relationships that he's going to make is going to benefit potentially his future.
Yes.
The same thing would
But I don't
apply.
think it's
by
worth it.
Powerful network that they're going to establish, the rest of their life.
I just don't think it's worth it.
What do you
though.
think, Doug? You're torn, but I want to hear what you think.
Yeah, so I feel like obviously if you really want to improve their career prospects, having them go away is the ideal thing. However, from the standpoint of development, relationships, and modeling, behavior such as a parent can provide, I feel definitely having them close by is best. For example, Brianna and I, a while back, I was really immersed in my work all the time, and I wasn't really giving her the attention I needed. And I could see our relationship slipping apart, and she was kind of falling into the wrong crowds and doing some things I didn't think was a great, idea. And then I really started to dedicate my time to spending time with her. And then on the weekends, we'd go do something, we'd spend time together, and that's made a world of difference.
Yeah.
And our relationship's a lot better, but it's also spilled over to other parts of her life. She's made better choices with friends and things like that. So I've seen kids go off to boarding school and just become total wild.
Yeah,
And
I'm not a boarding school. And also take his perspective.
Well, they're all boarding
Okay,
schools. If they're sleeping there, it's a boarding school.
Yeah, but you mean sending them off to like a boarding school as a parent versus them choosing to go to this school because they want to pursue a specific sport or talent, right?
You know
So
what the
they're different.
problem is
and
that
also remember where he's coming from right now is that like you noticed behaviors that you didn't like in her. You recognized things that you weren't doing as a parent. Therefore, it was something that I'm talking about a kid who is so passionate about this sport, and I'm so proud of him as a father that he's into this, and him and I are touring schools, and this school offers this opportunity, and it's going to break my heart to let my son, which my firstborn son, go over there, and I'm out without him for 4 years at this school. It would tear me up every night. Every night it would tear me up. But if he wanted it that bad, and he is showing me that he's that serious about this, I would have to support it.
You know what the problem is that a lot of people they think that success in sports or business or money is happiness and is everything. It's not. I'd rather have a kid be middle class.
That argument falls flat on its face by
it's-
what I just said. He's passionate about this. Is his passion. He lives and breathes basketball. It's what all he thinks about. He sleeps with his basketball.
But he doesn't
next
know
to him.
what he's losing by not being with his family and by being in
He's
that.
going to have
kind
his
of
whole
environment.
life to be with his family. I mean,
That's after that. It's a lot harder. After that, then it's.
I don't disagree with that. I mean, sure, it doesn't get any easier or whatever like that. But I mean, that's to say that
I'll throw a fit if you send your kids somewhere.
I can see that.
No,
I knew this would
Max
come.
stays here.
Sounds
You know,
very
when
passionate
we
about
were
it.
doing the live
I'm like, this
claw.
is a highly unlikely scenario, but I'm going to keep going. with
Yeah,
it.
well, I mean, when we were doing the live quad and the girls talking about school, I could see both Justin and I
I'm like, woo, this
both
sounds awesome.
Justin and I could see our eyes go like, man, that'd be so cool to send my kid to that school.
I would have loved this personally for me.
Me too.
I would have loved it, and I would have taken advantage of it. 100%,
Me too.
and I would not have regretted it.
And let me tell you, my
I did
relationship
that
with
later.
my
and I
parents
wish
would
I would've
probably
done
be
it earlier.
tighter today than it is today.
Exactly.
yeah, but that's different though.
But
I get
yeah,
what you're saying.
What do you mean? Yes, you're right. It's
You
different.
didn't
but-
like living at home.
Yes.
Exactly.
So
Me
that's
either.
what-
I hated it. Like, I wanted to get out.
Yeah,
So
Mike- yes,
I
Mike.
should have done it a long time ago.
Yeah,
So I mean, that's a good point, okay, and that's a very good point, right? Justin and I didn't like it at home. We would have loved that. That would
And
have
our
actually
kids
better.
love us at home. Yeah,
Right.
So it's a different scenario.
So
but-
it will be a different scenario, and so it would be a very hard, right? I hope that I provide a home for my son that it would be very challenging for him to even want that, right?
Sure.
Like I could never see your kid wanting that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think your kids want to be home. They want to be near you that bad that I don't think he would come to you. In fact, you're going through that process right now, touring colleges. I wouldn't be surprised if your kid makes a decision. He's smart enough to get into almost anywhere in the
probably gonna pick a
country.
closer
He
one,
will
dude.
pick something I think that is closer because he doesn't want to be
guarantee
too far from his dad.
We'll see. I mean, he's older too, though, right? He's out of that age. You know, we're talking 15, 16. Like he'll be 18, 19. There's a big difference. There's a big difference between an 18, 19-year-old and a 15-year-old.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, that's huge. I mean, you put me. I mean, I don't know. I guess. Look, and let me tell you, I'm way more progressive than the way I grew up in my family. You don't move out until you're married. I don't care if you're 40. You live with your parents. You think I'm joking?
No, I know.
I
It's
got
a
cousins that
culture.
live
It's
with
a
their
culture
parents.
thing.
Which
right?
hits is why you're so that way,
Yeah,
bro.
exactly.
That's-
Yeah, my parents. You know, like, "Here, see you later."
Yeah. Speaking of which, right? So I go to my grandparents went over to my parents' house last night, and I went over there real quick to go visit with them. And we haven't had Vicky here in a little while. She does our beards and everything. So my beard was all big and
Oh my
bushy.
God,
or
I was
whatever.
supposed to bring up your mustache.
Well, I got the story. It's okay.
Yeah,
so,
okay, all right.
so I walk in, and my grandfather right away gives me shit because my beard was all scraggly.
Your grandfather was?
He goes, Salvatore, I love you, right? And I know he's gonna say some shit. So yeah, I know that. No. And he goes, but you look terrible. You need to cut your beard. It's too long. My grandma's like, you look old. So I said, okay. So I went home because we're gonna go back for dinner.
Yeah.
So I went home and I trimmed everything except for the mustache. Because I thought, I told Jessica, I said, watch my grandfather.
Yeah, I'm gonna
watch
come
him
in
hit
looking
the
like
roof.
Luigi and see if my grandpa likes it.
Hey, watch him.
It's a Mario. Hey.
Why? Hey, I
Hey,
thought for sure my grandfather would think it was like throw a fit,
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is gonna be funny.
No.
So I walk in and my grandparents are like, "Oh my God, it's a beautiful. I love it. It looks so good." Giving me all this compliment. Now I'm confused. So now I'm confused.
Bro, you look like Luigi.
Now
That's
I gotta-
why, bro. You
No, he
come
looks
in
like a
looking-
musketeer. He's got the little patch on here.
And then Jessica, she said is handsome-ish. That's what she said. So I said, all right.
Like, I'm the Count of Monte Cristo.
I mean,
keep it for a
I think
second.
your mustache has the most dark hair still. I see.
That's why I kept it. Everything else is white, bro.
This is all white. You still got some dark hair.
I got like
there
3
going
or 4 whites going on there.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we should go the full like mustachio group here. I
remember
was
when-
actually considering.
Remember
it.
when Adam grew his?
Yeah, I rocked mine
grew
for
his,
a while.
hammer one.
Yeah.
I look so bad though. I look so bad.
It looked awesome. What are you talking about? dude?
Yeah,
I feel like I need to see. I wasn't in great shape. I need to be in like great shape and then have that. You need to have kind of like if you're gonna have like you're in great shape right now, so you could do like stupid shit with your face.
Yeah.
When you do stupid shit with your face and you're not in good shape, it just doesn't look
I
good.
feel
Yeah, your
like
body makes
it looks
up
like you
for
don't.
it.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like you don't care, but obviously you care.
Yeah.
right. You see.
Well,
I care all over you.
every once in a while, funny like facial hair looks like can kind of look cool. Like it's
It
a
is
bartender.
Luigi, bro.
Yeah, that's Luigi right there. Why you gotta give me Luigi, not Mario?
I know. It's
taller
You
and
look like
skinnier.
Luigi at that thing.
Yeah,
Mario's shorter and fatter, so I think
That's so
you should be happy.
most racist cartoon of all time. I swear to God,
no way.
Mario Brothers.
yeah.
Anyway, I got confused. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it looks good. Maybe
Lucky
it doesn't.
Charms.
So I think I'm gonna
We'll
keep
let
it.
the audience
Yeah.
decide.
Hey, I got a study I want to bring up with you guys. Kind of cool. So, Adam, you know how we've observed and talked about on the show how after a prolonged period of cutting or dieting, or at least where the main goal is to get lean,
Yeah.
especially like when you do a show and you get shredded,
Yeah.
that post shredded period where you start to bump your calories up, start working out, you
Yes.
just feel you like
Amazing.
you build muscle like never before. Your body's just anabolic,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Well, I just read a study that shows that fasting increases androgen receptor sensitivity. So the androgen receptors are what your anabolic hormone testosterone attached to. Going through a period of fasting, and I'm assuming cutting calories does this as well,
Right.
makes them more sensitive. That's why you feel this muscle building boost when you go on a cut and then go back on a bulk. And this is why when someone's bulking, I always recommend little short periods of cuts in between, because I noticed for myself, I seem to build better as a result. And the study shows that.
Oh wow, that's fascinating. I've said that I have felt more anabolic after a show like that than I have from taking any anabolics.
Isn't that crazy?
That's how powerful that feeling is.
It's wild.
and it does have a lot to do with how long of a period I had been, in a cut for. And
Yes.
to your point about fasting, that is true because your fasting mimicking diet they've already shown is gives all the same benefits as somebody who fasts, right? So if you did like the
Yeah, if you just go
Volta
low
Longo, right?
calorie.
Yeah, so and you're low calorie for a very long period of time, and then you finally reintroduce all these calories, and those next 3 to 5 workouts, I'd say after a show, after I've loaded calories like nonstop, is the most amazing I've ever.
Yeah. So
felt.
I guess the takeaway is for people who are trying to bulk and build lean body mass, it's a good idea. And we've talked about this before. It's a good idea to interrupt your bulk with some short periods of cuts. So let's say you do 3 weeks of bulking, 3 days of cutting. 3 weeks of
So
bulking,
there's
3 days of
physiological
cutting.
benefits, also psychological, right?
Yes.
Because then too, it's like it gets it's quite a chore
it's
to
monotonous.
constantly just keep
Stuffing
feeding
your
That's
face.
a really good point too,
Yeah.
Justin. As far there's also the psychological side of actually just being filled back up that it comes into that workout. So not only do you feel anabolic for
Yeah.
the science that you're saying too, then there's also the psychological part of being fed.
Yeah.
Your muscle belly's filling all up, and then the pump is so amazing. Like it's a feeling that is hard for me to describe because it's like no other workout or like anything else. And it is like no other steroid I've even taken. I've taken steroids before where, I've talked about with you guys, I don't know if we have on air, but like I remember taking D-ball for the first time and it was like, oh my God, I just muscle packed on me. Every time I did shoulders, I was adding like 10 pounds to my shoulder press every workout. It was just insane the way I felt. Even that doesn't compare to.
Isn't it wild?
Yeah, that workout the week. And anybody who's competed probably can relate to this because they've been here before where they have depleted themselves for that long, and then that workout week afterwards just feels so amazing.
Have you guys seen the crazy, stupid like sports they're trying to promote now on like ESPN2? Like I feel like they just need content for some reason.
What they do now.
Dude, so first of all, it was like 4th of July, all that. So they have their normal like Nathan's hot dog eating contest. Adam sent something over with this guy.
See that guy?
Yeah. He like gets in front of Joey Chestnut, is like trying to promote some stupid thing.
Bro, he put a headlock on him.
Headlocks him. I guess he had an injured leg too.
Oh, really?
That's after he ate a shit ton of hot dogs too.
Dude, yeah, the guy's a savage. But so I was at this sandwich place and we were eating with the family and there was all these TVs on and there was another one going on simultaneously it was called World, I forget, it was like World Tag Championships or something.
World Chase Tag.
World Chase Tag, thank you.
What?
Yeah, and so it had all these different levels of platforms and like weird
I've
railings and things and so you get
I
one
have.
person versus the other. And so the guy takes off, the other guy tries to catch him to tag him and has to like jump through all these things and then
That's
like
crazy.
climb over the top and like lunge out and try and get it's like
It's like a Jackie Chan
pandemonium,
movie.
dude.
You ever watch
Yeah,
Jackie
it's just
Chan?
like Jackie Chan.
Like
yes.
they're doing crazy shit to try and catch each other. It's actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I
so
didn't
what
even know that was a sport.
Okay, so the objective is, and I'm assuming that the guy who's running gets a little bit of a head start.
Yeah.
Ahead of the other guy.
I think they end up on either side, on both sides of the platform. So they take off, and then one guy's.
And I'm assuming they have to stay on this course or track, so he can't.
So
go
it's like a square course, right? So there's all these different obstacles within this square. And so he's just trying to evade the other guy through all these different maze directions of parkouring that he can get through to avoid getting caught. And then there's like a time link.
I watched some of that for 10. After 10 minutes or so, it gets boring. But
Okay,
Yeah.
so
first 10 minutes
is
pretty
it
well.
more or less common for the guy to get caught?
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, that's a good question.
It depends on the time. I think everybody gets caught.
It was
It's just
kind of
how long.
50-50 from what I was watching.
Well, a lot of people get caught. I would think you would give it to if it's one-on-one.
Well, 'cause
One-on-one
you gotta-
tag is hard.
well, here's the
Like
thing.
when you were a
like-
kid and you played tag, it's always you versus like 5 people. So if you miss this guy, then you're going all of a sudden to this
That's
guy.
true.
It's like
You
there's
got to
an
have
advantage.
really good like movement fluency, right? Like you know how to like just all of a sudden
Juke
make
somebody.
a cut that
And anticipate.
you've seen that on the field too, where somebody avoids like a collision
Yeah.
because they just have that foresight. And so some guys were really good at it, some guys weren't quite as good.
Also anticipating their position, like one
yeah,
guy will
like
jump through
angling
some
him
bars
and
and,
like,
then he angles it.
like funneling him into the corner. But yeah, so then there was this other one that came on after that. That was like, it was like the world champion. It was like place setting, like for like table, like fine dining, like place setting. I was like, what?
Wow.
Really? Like, is this where we're at now? Like, we're watching people like be judged on like how tight their place
All
setting
right.
is. And
What competition would you be
come
the
on.
world? You can invent any competition you want. What competition would you be the world champion in? If there was a competition.
the world champion.
Yeah, what would it be?
I don't know. I'm not very talented
Yeah.
at a lot of stuff. Dude.
Well, I
I'm
mean, it's
pretty
gotta be
average
something.
at a lot of things.
Yeah.
What am I really? What would you?
How about that? Like the most average.
The guy who's the average. That's what it would be. It'd be like 30 different sports. And he'd be
crush.
pretty good at everything.
Yeah.
Not great, not right, but not terrible.
Top
Like,
50 in everything.
Yeah.
In the world.
it's like the CrossFit of everything.
yeah.
it's like,
That'd probably.
I'm
You have
kinda
something
good.
that you think you could win?
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I was gonna say that's a,
Reverse curls.
I mean,
That's one
I'm sure-
exercise I'm really good at.
cheese.
we live in a time
tasting.
where there's a
I don't know.
sport or a thing for everything. So I feel like you would have found it.
Oh,
by
I got
now.
a trivia question for you guys. Do you
Okay.
guys know who the richest self-made women? I'm going to look it up. I have it written down. The richest self-made women under the age of 35 are?
Oh, under 35.
Under 35. You guys want to guess who number one is? The richest
No, one of the Kardashians.
self-made woman under 35.
One of the Kardashians.
No.
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 Who?
It's
Not
Rihanna.
Kendall? Oh, Rihanna?
$1.4 billion.
Oh, she's in the billions.
Billion?
She's a billionaire, and she's
Nice.
under 35. I didn't know that. Third with Kylie Jenner. Kylie Jenner was third. Fourth is Taylor Swift. But dude, Rihanna, she's the richest self-made woman under 35.
So is it-
1.4 billion. Cosmetics,
Yeah, I was gonna say it has
music,
to
and
be.
So
cosmetics.
she must have been the one who paved the way for Kylie and then all the other ones that are doing it. So she
Maybe.
must
That's
have
where
did
they're
it first.
crushing it. That
Bro.
and like the video game, like the apps. I remember like one of the Kardashians like crushed that.
Dude, cosmetics is huge business. Huge business. Because that's where she gets the majority of her
Well,
money.
especially when you're a hot celebrity chick.
Exactly.
But it's like you got to be a celebrity first,
Yeah.
you know, and then so
That's
like,
exactly
I want to
what it
know
is.
the ones that like made millions off of just one idea.
No,
Oh, well, the
that's
second one was
that's
someone-
that's a whole different
It's a whole
monster.
nother
right?
category.
Second
Whole
one
different
was
monster.
someone. Oh, here you go.
You know,
Second is $740 million. Whitney Wolf Herd. Do you know what she did?
I don't even know who that is.
She created Bumble,
Oh yeah, that's right.
the dating app. So there you go. There's
She
somebody that
sold
was-
it.
You know
Right.
who's like speaking of women, America's most wanted women right now, the crypto queen.
What? What'd she
She
do?
should be up there. She's worth $4 billion.
How did she? What do you mean? Why does she want
And
it?
then she doesn't get the credit because she stole, you know what I'm saying, all her money. But she should be up there, $4
not
billion.
quite honest,
Look
but
up, Doug.
She
Look
stole
up.
$4
she's
billion
still
worth
killing
of
it.
crypto.
Yes.
How?
They call her the crypto queen. Look her up, Doug.
I haven't heard about this.
Yeah, crypto queen. I mean, this is part of what's happening. I mean, boy, we're going to see.
Yeah, it sounds like a villain, right? Like a super villain.
Yeah, yeah.
the
She's got a
crypto queen.
cryptocopter.
Yeah.
It's invisible.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's pronounced Ruja Ruja Ignatova,
Yeah, I think that's her.
Wow.
born in 1980. So
She's
Not
almost.
under-
She does
she's
sound like a
42 years
villain.
old.
Oh, she's a little too old.
too old for the
She didn't make the cut.
status.
No,
yeah.
Oh, I
doesn't
thought she-
count.
I thought
How did
she
she
was-
steal all the crypto?
Oh, dude, that's why this thing is going to collapse, bro.
Yeah, how did that happen?
Everything's
it's
collapsing. Let's
See
be
if you can
honest.
pull up a good article on it. Doug.
supposed to be like not possible.
Dude, you know what I find interesting right now about you talking about collapsing? All the people that are acting like they knew all along things were going to get inflated and costs were going to go up. Where were you guys 14 years ago or 13 years ago or whatever after 2008 when they started, quantitative easing, which basically means the government's going to print a bunch of money and just buy shit to keep things expensive. Nobody said anything about that except for the Austrian
Is there
economic.
any economists left saying that this is all good, right? This is
Oh,
good for
well,
us?
so
No, where were you just 2 months ago when we were already in a recession?
transitory.
Telling people we're in some of the greatest economic times.
I know. It's so crazy. Now everybody's like, oh,
Bunch of
I knew this
morons.
all along. No, you didn't, bro.
No, I mean they're calling this, and I think you've said it on the show already, the everything bubble,
Yep.
right? So this is like,
So here's
this
a-
is going to be interesting to watch.
So here's the thing. So I was a big Milton Friedman guy way back in the day. 2008 happens, and I follow a lot of Austrian economists. So Austrian economics is it's not because they live in Austria, but it's a very free market form of economics, and they believe that the market corrects, which it does, and the proof is in the pudding. After 2008, they were like, you guys are going to cause some big problems if you do quantitative easing, and they said it'll never end. They said they'll never stop because they can't. Once they start pumping that drug in, nobody's going to
Nobody wants to be
pain.
the person to like stop
And
that
that's
from happening.
exactly
Yeah.
what's happening. Exactly what's happened.
Well, and unfortunately, the majority that are voting for the people that make these decisions think that it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, because nobody wants to feel the pain. Everybody, like, you got a credit limit with a credit card. You're running out of money. And it's like, hey, you need to stop paying for subscription services and you can't buy
you
cars
see
you can't
that-
afford.
did you-
Or we can give you
Did
more
you guys
credit.
see
no
that with the cars?
consequences.
Could you
No
pull
big
this
deal.
up article for me? I don't know if you read that, the Queen one. So she's on FBI's 10 most wanted now. That's wild, right? I believe, let me make sure I get this correct, and I don't know if it's the average or that peak, but I think I read the average car payment in the United States now is $1,000 a month.
No way.
Google that and see
Who
what
the
you get.
hell pays $1,000 a
What?
month for a car?
Most more than
Why?
That's what.
That's a car.
It's because of interest rate and the cost of an average car now.
Wow.
Well, most cars are 50 grand and above, dude.
Yeah.
So the average car payment in the U.S. climbed to a record $712 a month in June as borrowing costs increase. This
Oh
is
my-
a brand new article.
You
4
know
hours
what?
ago.
I read 1,000. It's weird.
That
It's
is
still high as shit.
$700.
Yeah, still.
Wow.
That's-
and we're at highest record debt right now. So debt is higher than it's ever been. And so that's part of the scary part of what might happen, right? So gas prices going through the roof, they're not going to slow down. Inflation's still running. And before people will actually curb their spending habits that they've been doing for the last 2 to 3 years, they're more likely to continue to pull more debt out and make it even worse. So and all that it will do is kind of kick the can down the
The
road.
worst
further.
possible thing you could finance, I'm just going to say this right now, for most people is a car. That's a losing money. You're guaranteed to lose money in a car if you buy a
Yeah.
car and you finance it. The second you drive it off the lot, you lost
It's
thousands of
status
dollars.
quo, dude.
Doesn't
I mean,
appreciate.
it's a status quo thing. It's And it makes you feel rich. And if you can finance it.
Hey, we voted it. By the way, this is a bipartisan issue. This is not just a Democrat. This is Democrat Republicans. Republicans like to talk like they are
they do
fiscally
the same
responsible.
thing. Yeah.
But when they're in office, they do the same thing. So we have just rampant spending, and it's been like this for a long time. But after 2008, it really took off, and that was it. There was no turning it off. And then COVID happened, and then it was like, yeah, and they turned it way the hell. So what's going to happen now is we're going to see crazy shit happen, and they're going to put us into a recession because you have to feel some pain. I bet you the printing press goes back on.
Oh, it has to.
Because nobody's going to want to there's $30 trillion of money in the I think in the world economy that was been printed. That money needs to get pulled out and corrected for. Nobody's going to want to deal with that shit. That's a big number, you know?
No, they won't. No. I agree with that prediction. And I would say that comes at the end of next year. So I think we're going to feel the pain starting now, all the way through this year into next year. Next year will be one of the worst years as far as that's all concerned. And I think to start to revive it, they'll start pumping money on it. And by the way, when they do that, I think we will all have become adjusted to, because I think we'll see as high as $10 gas prices. And then when we see gas prices that high, and then we get the relief of bringing it back down to $5, we're all going to be like, oh, thank God, it's just $5. It's $5. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I think that's what will happen. I think they'll get us used to seeing this $8, $9, $10, and then they'll bring it down a little bit.
Drop it at a new high.
Yeah. And the house prices, I think originally I thought we were going to see a pretty big crash on houses. I don't know. I think what might happen
it would be like a dip.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a small dip in correction.
Only because investors are going to throw their money in there.
Of course.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because it's just going to
not home buyers.
They're just going to cut out your normal home
because
buyers.
They know that what you're predicting right now is that they're going to print again, and when they do that again, it's only going to
the housing market is very lucrative for a politician to pass legislation to protect, because the majority of Americans hold their wealth in the value of their home. So it's politically expedient to do so. So they're going to continue. They're going to pump that first as much as possible.
We're going to quickly become a renter's country. I mean, we're heading in that direction, and where it will be different or weird, abnormal to own the home, like just you rent.
Yeah, and people need to know this too. With quantitative easing, which is they come up with fancy terms, by the way, to confuse people. Really, what it is they don't want the prices to drop, so the government comes in and buys shit to keep the prices high. It's essentially what it is. So if I sold a bunch of pencils, and all of a sudden the demand for my pencils goes down, and then I'm like, oh my God, I need more pencils. And the government's like, don't worry, we'll just print money and buy them from you and just throw them away because we're not using them and it's printed money out of nowhere. They're going to keep the price of things artificially high. That's what's happened. Actually, not just keeping them artificially high, but pump them up artificially way high. Yeah. So I don't know how they're going to back out of it other than allowing shit to fall. See what happens.
It's going to be crazy.
Interesting.
Buckle up.
Hey, check this out. Look, part of being healthy is also having balance. That means enjoying yourself sometimes, like having the occasional alcoholic beverage, like a glass of wine or a beer. Well, check this out. We work with a company called ZBiotics. They make a probiotic drink that's genetically modified to help your gut break down one of the unwanted byproducts of alcohol, which is acetaldehyde. So here's what happens when you drink alcohol. Your body has to break it down. Part of the breaking down process is breaking down something called acetaldehyde. Your liver does a really good job of this, but some of that happens in the gut, and that gets in your bloodstream and it starts to wreak havoc. Well, what ZBiotics does is it lives in your gut so you drink it before you drink alcohol. These little bacteria produce compounds that break down the acetaldehyde in your gut, so you feel much better. It's pretty cool stuff. Go check this out. Go to zbiotics.com. That's ZBIOTICS.com/mindpump, and then use the code MindPump22 for 10% off your first order. All right, here comes the rest of the show.
Our first caller is Teal from Pennsylvania.
Teal, how can we help you?
Hi, how is everyone?
We're really good. Thank you.
Very good.
Great.
Well, I'm a little nervous. I've been listening to you guys for 6 years, so this is really exciting.
Wow.
Taking the call. I'll start off my question. I'm probably going to read a little bit of my email so I don't ramble too much. But so I have a morning routine. I kind of have a type A personality, and I've developed a pretty consistent routine in the weekends, kind of a ritual. And I kind of want to get your advice on whether it's kind of effective for my overall health goals and my fitness routine. So I wake up kind of early and I drink my coffee, and then I walk my dog, and then I do some light gardening and housework. And then I work out, and then I do all of that prior to then also having to get ready and work out, or then go to work. So if I don't read in the morning while I drink my coffee, if I don't work out, if I don't do any of those those rituals there, I probably won't do it during the rest of my day. I just get too busy. So I do like to do that in the morning. And I've listened to you many times about talking about, working out in the morning because it's, good for consistency. I've also run MAPS Anabolic twice. I've followed it to a T the first time. And then the second time around, I did split up the exercises because I just really don't have a lot of time to kind of squeeze all those things in the morning. So I only have about 30 minutes to exercise in the morning. But the second time around, I did MAPS Anabolic. I just felt like when I split up the workouts into like 5-day kind of workouts, those foundational exercises, I felt like I wasn't really getting a whole lot out of it. And I'm just wondering if the way my routine is of doing all this in the morning is kind of impacting my kind of like strength gains. Because another thing that I wanted to bring up is the fact that I kind of got in this habit of fasting until noon. So I finish my, wake up at like 5:30, I finish, and it's probably finish around like 7:30 with my workout. And then I don't actually eat until noon. And I'm just wondering, like, is that a bad idea? Because I recently listened to Dr. Cabral and joined his the holistic health group through Mind Pump as well, about maybe that's not that great on my metabolism. So I have kind of two-part questions there, is like the fasting impacting kind of those strength gains, and also just any advice you have on kind of breaking up the foundational workouts so I can have that consistent morning routine.
Yeah.
I definitely don't think what you're doing is bad.
Yeah. Now, are you asking simply because your strength gains have stalled, or is there anything else that you've noticed? Like, how's your energy?
Yeah.
How's everything else feel?
So I feel like I was hoping by the second time around with MAPS Anabolic, I would be able to kind of progress a little bit in my strength gains. And I don't necessarily want to use the excuse that I work out from home to be that excuse, but I sometimes feel like it because I only have so much dumbbells. And like, for example, if I wanted to do a squat, I just feel like I can lift probably much more in a squat, but I can't physically pick up the dumbbells with my arms if that makes any sense, because I don't have a squat rack. So I feel like I can't progress there.
Okay. So that's you kind of getting to the point now where you might need to change your approach with your workouts. If barbells are not available to you and you're not willing to make them available, in the sense, maybe get yourself a squat rack, get yourself barbell, or go to a gym, I would suggest a different kind of workout, something different, like MAPS suspension might be a good example. Suspension trainers can be made very intense, and the resistance can be made very high simply by changing the angle of pull. And it also maintains that convenience that it sounds like you're looking for, which is, you work out for 30 minutes in the morning at home. Because right now the limiting factor sounds like for those barbell exercises, you just can't go heavy enough because you have dumbbells.
Yeah, I mean, MAPS Performance would be a good suggestion too. We have a dumbbell mod for all the core programs. So moving to I think just something that's novel will help break through a little bit of a plateau. I also think that to the point you made about Dr. Cabral and fasting, that's not helping the cause either, right? So if we're trying to progress and build strength, and you're also fasting every single day, that's probably not helping. I don't think it's hurting you. And if it works for you, I would never tell someone don't do it. Like if you like that routine, it helps you manage your calories that way, and you feel good. As a client of mine, I'd say, hey, listen, if you feel good, you like that, it helps you manage your calories. Okay, so we may sacrifice, you're not going to be progressing as fast maybe in the weight room, but you like that, then go ahead and stick with it. But if you were at like, Adam, I really want to get stronger, I really want to see myself build this, or I'm trying to shape this part of my body, if you're really focused that way and we're also fasting every single day, that's where I might say, okay, why don't we start maybe with a shake in the morning, or start to kickstart the metabolism a little bit and actually fuel the body a little bit more, and see if that helps support your lifting inside the workout.
Yeah, I think too, dumbbells, I mean, at a certain point, if you can lift them with your arms, but you're capable of more with your legs. Obviously, like unilateral work and like single leg deadlifts and with like Bulgarians and just changing the tempo up a lot. I mean, you can add intensity to those types of exercises and that type of a workout that way. So that's an option for you if you haven't really messed around with that yet.
I do have kettlebells. Well, just a couple. I have like a 35-pound kettlebell that I could do single leg deadlifts with, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
work.
So, just thinking those in that direction pretty much, but I mean, you're going to need new stimulus. And so that is a hard one to get, like really solid leg work when you're limited to dumbbells. But I mean, that's really like in terms of like where you're at for now, that would help quite a lot is
but
to change it up.
We need a more complete picture though too, Teal, because you're just talking about plateauing a little bit with strength. And although strength is a great metric, it's not the only metric. So I need to know energy, sleep. Like, are you noticing any other changes or, I don't know, plateaus or any negatives anywhere else in your health and performance?
Not necessarily. There's nothing specific. I would say I would like to go to bed earlier. I mean, I probably get 7 hours of sleep, but that's not, I don't know if I'm actually sleeping those 7 hours, but so I think sleep would probably be a big thing. So, and I am just naturally like that type A personality where I'm just like, go right from the beginning. And I kind of, once I get my coffee, I just kind of nonstop. So I do kind of realize that maybe I need to slow down a little bit, but.
Do you feel like you need more caffeine than before, or is your energy levels pretty good?
Not necessarily. As long as I have my 1 cup in the morning, I don't think I could do anything else without.
You're doing okay. So. You're fine. You're doing good, Teal. If you start to notice declines in energy, skin, your hair starts to feel brittle, it feels like hormone imbalances, libido is off, mood swings, like you notice your health is starting to go in a different direction or in the wrong direction, then I would take a much closer look. But it sounds like you're doing okay. You can experiment with eating something small before noon. So maybe after your workout, you could have like 2 hard-boiled eggs. Like that's it. A little bit of protein, a little bit of fat. See how you feel. A protein shake might be even more convenient. You could try something like that just to see how
I did try to start doing the protein shakes a little bit earlier. I found that I get hungrier if I eat earlier. That's why I sometimes hold it off. But then I end up eating like a ton for lunch, and then I feel sluggish afterwards.
Have you actually tracked calories just to kind of see where you're at? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, and actually, I did have a small question about that because I do every now just track calories just for curiosity. And like weight loss isn't necessarily something I'm trying to do by any means. It's just overall health goals. But I think I'm probably around 2,000 calories. I just struggle with olive oil because I just use olive oil like all the time. I just drizzle it and I just don't know how many. I feel like I could easily add probably like 500 extra calories just on top of, they say the 2 tablespoons, but I don't even know. So sometimes like I just don't measure everything. That's like I don't take the time to weigh.
A lot of people don't know this. A lot of people don't know this, Teal, but olive oil doesn't count. You can eat as much as you want.
That's not true. That's not true. That's not true.
That's you from Italy saying that.
Yes.
Don't trust the
the one that I would probably be more concerned. Like, do you know where your protein intake is on a regular basis? Do you have an idea of how many grams of protein you eat every day?
Yeah, I have recently really tried to be more mindful of that. And I feel like I'm usually I'm like, I don't know, 110, 115 pounds. And I'm usually like 120, 130.
Okay.
Yeah.
This may be a case of being overcritical. We may be in a situation here. And you said you're type A. People in your kind of like your, category tend to they look at everything and they get real critical and break everything down when everything seems to be doing okay. Really, based off what we're hearing, it sounds to me like what you need to do is just kind of change your workout.
Especially when your goal is overall health, right? Like you just want to be healthy. You're not. You've already made that clear. You're not trying to lose a bunch of weight. It didn't sound like you're trying to build a bunch of muscle or gain a bunch of weight. It sounds like you are pretty healthy. Sounds like you got a pretty good balance going on now. Sometimes that happens in the weight room, especially if you're doing the same routine and you're limited with weights. Plateaus are very normal. I mean, and even sometimes a little bit of a regression depending on it's not weird to see that. And if the main goal is health, the thing I'm concerned about is the stuff that Sal was saying. Like, are you sleeping well? Do you have good sustained energy? Are you not having to suck down the caffeine like crazy? Pretty happy with the weight? You don't feel like you're retaining a bunch of water, feel bloated? If all those things you're checking all those boxes, you're probably doing pretty damn good.
Yeah, change your bilateral exercises for lower body to unilateral. Just do that. So instead of double leg squat with dumbbells, Bulgarian split stance squat with dumbbells. That'll make it intense. Instead of a deadlift with both legs, do a single leg deadlift.
Basically what I said.
Yeah, exactly what Justin said. Go unilateral with the lower body. That'll give you the extra resistance that you need. And I think that would probably be enough.
Okay. And you think that and I do usually do it 5 days a week, but I don't feel like I go super, super hard. Like I'm not like sweating. And I just walk other than that.
That's okay. That's okay. You're fine. Yeah. I actually prefer anabolic split too.
Yeah.
I tend to break up anabolic. It works better that way for me than the long one session, foundational day. I like to split it up. I don't think that's hindering you at all.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely stick with that and try to be a little bit more, just less critical, I guess.
I think Doug is going to send you over a MAP suspension also from us. So you can play with that a little bit too. So it won't hurt to add. I think just having
just a good new stimulus.
Yeah, novel exercises are going to help out. But yeah, and then maybe in the future consider like a PRX rack where you can attach it to your wall and fold it away, so you can still use your garage and. I think there's a lot of value in having a barbell squat rack at your place.
Totally.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for calling in, Teal. Thanks for the support too.
Yes, thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a case of
I think you hit it.
Yeah, I've had clients like that where it's like they're doing really well.
Yeah.
Everything's consistent. They're doing really well.
It's like they get nervous because it's like they're doing well. Is this really going well?
Well, or your type A's have very high expectations for themselves. So it's like you're putting all the work in, and then if you're not seeing the serious results, like I'm not adding weight,
or you don't feel a crazy struggle.
Right. Yeah. So then it's like, man, should I be doing more? Or I'm not doing enough because I'm not seeing more results. It's like, well, listen, when your goal is overall health, you sound pretty damn healthy to me. It sounds like you got a pretty good balance.
Morning routine sounds great.
And again, a type A personality to hear an episode like Dr. Cabral, who then tells the benefits of eating in the morning and then goes, oh shit, I've been skipping breakfast. I need to change that. It's like, well, wait a second here. Hold on. And that's where this is so important. You can make the case why that there is value to that metabolism wise and what Cabral talked about. But then you also have to take into account, does this work for your lifestyle? Do you like not eating till noon because it helps you manage your calories and keep you at a healthy weight?
And you feel good.
Yeah. And if that's the case, then I don't care what doctor says what about how the benefits of you eating in the first thing in the morning. It's like, this works really well for you. Let's continue to do it. Now, different story if you look at me and go, hey, I'm really struggling with this, or my energy dips, or I don't feel good, or I'm having trouble sleeping. Okay, well, now we can explore some other, maybe it is you not eating all the way till noon every single day, and then maybe we change that.
Yeah, the other side of this too is even the client where not only are they just feeling good, but they're progressing, and then they're like, what else can I add to progress faster?
Yeah.
You ever get that? I'm like, you just gained 20 pounds in your squat.
Yeah. Everything's going good. Let's just stick with it.
Keep it where it's at.
Our next caller is Emily from Arizona.
Emily, what's happening? How can we help you?
Hi, guys. So excited to be here on the show. And long time listener, the last 3 or 4 years, pretty consistently. So I'm excited to get to talk to you guys.
Awesome.
All right.
Just a little bit of background about me. I'm a certified athletic trainer. So I work in sports medicine. I have been at my school. This is going on my 3rd season with my school. I work at a prep school where we have mostly basketball athletes. So all of my kids are getting recruited to play D1. We just had a couple of kids get drafted to go to the NBA. So I work with very high level athletes.
Awesome.
This upcoming year, my job is kind of evolving. They, decided that they like me, they trust me, and, what else can we do to benefit our kids? Because a lot of them are recruited to come into the school. So, their parents are like kind of leaving them in Arizona with us and just trusting us with them to like take care of them, that we're going to get them like the best, chance to get into college and, to play professionally eventually. So this upcoming year, I'm helping with the nutrition coaching as well. So we have a chef at the school who's going to be preparing all their meals like from scratch every day, which is awesome.
Wow.
And then we also hired a strength and conditioning coach. So like a guy who's a CSCS, has worked in basketball for a long time as well. So like, I know I have a good team around me, but they kind of put me in charge of tracking everything. They're like, we want to do preseason and like, couple like monthly check-ins just to like make sure that everything we're implementing is beneficial. So a lot of the parents and everything, they want to know, is my kid progressing? So honestly, my question was, like, what do you guys think will be the best way to track? It'll be body composition, like performance. So, like how they're doing on the court, weight room. And then I want to track their injury prevention. So like we've worked with strength coaches in the past, but it just hasn't been like super consistent. So this year, I think it will be a little bit more consistent than it's been in the past. And just keeping that like, as cheap as we can do it as possible would be awesome. And then, whatever is going to be the most beneficial to like, show our coaches and parents and the administration that, the money we're spending on, these things that we're implementing this year are like worth it to keep doing in the future.
This is cool. I wish I could send my kids to the school. That sounds awesome.
Okay, pretty much recruited only, but yeah.
How old are the kids that you're working with?
17, 18, 19. Yeah. They're all like pretty much juniors, seniors in high school.
Yeah, I think I personally would look at, because you're already tracking their performance and their strength, you said, right? So you're already looking at things like how much weight they can lift. And
how are you doing that, by the way, too? Are you using any of the grip testing as part of that?
No, so that's kind of the thing, is this is the first year we're going to have this strength coach at the school. So me and him have kind of been going back and forth on, like what do we want to do preseason testing wise? Like, do we want to do grip strength? Do we want to do, 3-rep maxes? Do we want to do a 40-yard dash? Do we want to go get them bod pod tested or just do like skin calipers at the school? So like we have a lot of resources open, but it's just like, what's going to be the easiest to do month to month? What's going to be the cheapest? And like, what's going to show the most benefit is really like what we're looking at.
I like all that if it's feasible.
Totally.
If it's feasible, the more metrics that you can get, the better off you're going to be. Did you ever listen to the episode?
HRV even?
Yeah. Did you listen to the episode we did with Corey Schlesinger?
I don't think so.
Okay, you should go back and listen to that. So he now works for the Suns. He was working for Santa Clara at the time. He's the basketball coach.
Stanford,
or excuse me, is it Stanford?
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, he was for Stanford. And he was the strength and conditioning coach for Stanford, is now the strength and conditioning coach for the Phoenix Suns. Yep. Good friend of ours.
Okay.
And he did some stuff that I don't know, and maybe in that episode he talked about the app that he was using. Yeah. I think a metric that you didn't bring up that I thought was very interesting he talked about was their workload week to week, and specifically for injury prevention, like you're talking about. Mm-hmm. So the strength and conditioning coach would work hand in hand with the basketball coaches that were running them on the courts and stuff, and they were actually tracking the athletes, like how much workload they were putting in, and then he would manipulate how much he would push them in the gym based off of how much the coach was running them on the court, and they would do load management basically. So instead of running separately, where I'm the strength and conditioning coach, this is my routine, I run it every single week the same way, and I'm the basketball head coach, and so I run my players this way. They were working together, and he would modify as the strength and conditioning coach. Oh, maybe today I was originally going to do heavy lifting, heavy squatting, stuff like that, but I guess head coach decided to run the shit out of the kids the last 2 days, and so actually I'm going to do more rehab work with my players because injury prevention is so important.
That's the best way, I mean, in terms of like stress management. And I know there's sophisticated software out there that's expensive, and so you're trying to do this a little bit more on the cheap, right? And so like that's why I mentioned grip testing is, one of those options, like you're just like consistently testing them before workouts just to see, what kind of response they have in terms of their CNS, because that's going to vary a bit. And I've been playing around with it with these student athletes and kind of like paying attention. And it does reveal a bit about their readiness. So it is a valuable resource for that. That's on the cheaper side of it. And instead of going with like a Whoop or like a, you know, an HRV where they're strapped up, you know, checking that variability. But everything else you mentioned, like I've implemented, like, so that's great. Like another thing too, like in terms of like just a quick mobility check and to see like, you know, in terms of like their joint health and whatnot, like I just use our compass tests. So for Prime, I don't know if you have our Prime programs or not, but you could run through and even do like your own, even go into Prime Pro and maybe like, you know, fixated on their ankles and knees a little bit more, rather than just, you know, our 3 sort of checkpoints that we do in our broad type of testing in Prime. So you can get a little more sophisticated in it that way. But that's something you can always show a little bit of progress, a little bit of, you know, gain of range of motion, a little bit more control, strength in that. But in terms of like, a 3-rep max, I think is brilliant. That's something that I didn't want to do 1 rep because, yeah, there's a little more risk to that. And it's a totally different skill set the kids have to learn. So I don't know how much time you have to really, you know, implement that as well. But yeah, I think between that and then like if you can do just vertical jump, obviously basketball is super specific to that. And then 40-yard dash, and then you know, shuttle run, something like that you can like do time tests with out in the field. Really quick, really easy. Shows a lot of you know, like you have a lot of metrics and you're paying attention. You can send that off to the parents.
Yeah, if you can show that athletes are maintaining a healthy body fat percentage, they're getting faster, they're jumping higher, they're getting stronger.
Yeah.
That in itself, and then you're managing their load management. To me, those 5 points right there are huge.
Yeah,
like your kid is either maintained or lost body fat percentage. He is jumping higher. He is running faster. He is stronger in the gym. Like that is like, I mean, that's a win all the way across. And he's not injured because we're managing his load and making sure that we're not over stressing his body, but we are pushing him to reach new PRs.
Yeah, and the reason why I asked the age is because right around that, so around 17, 18, 19, they've now been playing for a while. It sounds like they're high level based off of what you're telling me. I mean, they have a chef cooking them food and you're recruiting them. A lot of this, and you see this with higher level athletes with experience, a lot of it is preventing injury. So when they're young, it's like push them to get stronger, push them to improve performance. But when they start to get to that level, if you just keep them from getting hurt and overtraining, their performance does excellent. And so that really becomes key because, like, again, they probably are getting trained a lot. They're probably doing a lot of practice. It sounds like there's a lot of focus on their performance. So I would worry more about mobility and recovery and how do I keep them healthy rather than what can I add to push their performance even further, because they're probably already kind of redlining. They're probably already at that level. They've been training for so long. They're such high level that if you just keep them healthy, prevent overtraining, and don't get them hurt or keep them from getting hurt, then they're gonna do great.
Do you have a good relationship with the coach in terms of like their practice schedule and like so you could actually like acquire a lot of that workload so you could like write it down and chart it?
Yes. I mean, me and my head coach have like an awesome relationship, but it's not like he's going to change his practice plan if I think they're being overworked. Like,
no. So the head coach is not going to change his shit.
You're working around that.
That's where I know that me and the strength and conditioning coach are more going to have to teach things that we're doing in terms of like rehab testing, what they're doing in the weight room, what they're doing, in their agility training. Like, I know that's where things are going to need to be tweaked versus at practice, but we have a great relationship and I'm at practice every day. Like, I don't miss a practice. When they're at the gym, I'm there just in case somebody gets hurt because they want me to be like first person on the scene, like to be able to evaluate and kind of like, get the ball rolling if, they need to be referred or, I just need to take their ankle and get back to practice. So I'm there all the time. I know what their workload is.
So just you being able to get an idea of what we just want to get an idea what I would consider like a low workload and then a high workload, and then based off of that, as the strength and conditioning coach, I'm going to adjust
2 different workouts.
That's right. So I've got, let's just say this is let's say it's a week. Head coach is the guys are conditioned. They're ready to go. We're ready for the game. We're doing walkthroughs, a lot of just like basic drill stuff. I'm not really pushing the boys hard. That would be considered very low. And then and on a week like that, then my strength and conditioning guy can push the limits a little bit in the weight room because they're so well rested there. And then I have the other extreme where coach is like, we got our asses kicked. We were not conditioned well. You fuckers are running this week. And he's pushing the shit out of them. And then now my strength and conditioning coach needs to know like, oh, this week is recovery. We're rehabbing. We're doing mobility
exercises.
Yeah, mobility, stability stuff, like more foot control. We're not pressing the weights. And so that in itself, I think, if you guys can get to that level where the strength and conditioning coach yourself are mirroring what's going on with the head coach. And really changing the routine based off of the workload they're doing, I think that's going to do enough injury prevention wise. And then if you use Justin's suggestion as a grip test, you can start to correlate like, oh wow, that really does work when they.
I like that because it's daily. You know, they come in, they squeeze the dynamometer,
it's just routine,
and then oh, we got to train easier because it doesn't. Because here's the other thing. There's also lots of uncontrollables. They're teenage boys, so maybe the workload is low with the head coach.
The girlfriend just dumped on.
Dude just didn't go to sleep for 2 days in a row because he's hanging out with his girlfriend, or maybe something happened, or whatever, or his diet's been crap. So I like that because that tells you right then and there you're going to train harder, or you got to train.
Well,
easier.
that's why all the metrics you can take are only going to help you, right? So without it being over the top, right? As long as it's affordable.
You just don't need to present it to the student athletes, right?
Right.
That's just for your own data points.
Yeah, because to Sal's point, it's a great point. Like it could have been a low workload for the coach, but then the strength conditioning coach does the strength test by everybody, and he goes, "Oh wow, for some reason Timmy is like this is like the worst grip test he's ever done." So even though I had planned,
he was playing video games all night.
Even though I had planned to run everybody in the ground, what he may not know is maybe Timmy's coming off a cold or getting ready to get sick, or he had a stressful week, whatever, and so he's going to manage him individually, right? Because he sees that. So. Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer to do that on a daily basis, but that's kind of one of the things that I think I'd be looking at. It sounds like you guys are set up. I'm pretty excited to hear about how this goes.
Yeah, me too. I think this next year, just having all the help that I'm going to have, like compared to like my previous last 2 seasons, because before I was kind of I think I was just doing a little too much. It was hard to like keep track of everything, and I was more playing catch up rather than prevention. So I feel like this year, and I think that's a really great idea to do the grip testing. I hadn't thought about to do that like every single day. I was more thinking
every day.
But I think doing that every day would be like pretty cool, actually.
Well, imagine the cool feedback you can even give the parents, like that you're so in tune with like his, after you've charted that for weeks consistently, you go, oh wow, it seems like Timmy again on weekends he must go really hard because Monday morning when he rolls in he's always testing
especially and here's something I found out through doing that was some of the kids that literally look like baby giraffes, like they just are flimsy and have like very little body control. Like consistently doing grip testing, and you start to teach them how they need to be able to tense their entire body and how and be able to produce that type of intrinsic force and carry that throughout their body. You start to see a change in the way that they lift too, and the control they have with these major compound lifts especially. So there's a lot of carryover in terms of value of that as well.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, cool. Thanks for calling in.
Good luck, Emily.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was great to meet you.
You too.
All right.
Yeah, it's when kids are, the younger kids are, the more you're focused on pushing this general performance. The higher the level, because you look at like professional athletes, what percentage of the training that Steph Curry does, for example, is towards preventing injury recovery?
I didn't want to get into it with you about that, but I don't fully agree with what you said. Like it's not. They're still at a young. They're pretty fucking resilient, bro. You're talking about a college athlete heading into
Well,
pro.
what I'm saying is they're at that. You're right, but they're at that cusp, especially with the
super
school,
competitive,
especially a school like this. Like,
Sure.
like, do you know a high school that
recruited
recruits
them, yeah.
kids and has a chef?
Sure.
I bet you these kids are like
No,
already
but but
pushing
this is not where this is not where the switch of like, okay, all we're worried about is injury prevention.
not all.
This is you are prime testosterone wise. You are resilient as fuck. We are still kind of throttled down right now.
Yeah,
to get
it's
the most.
it's on top of mind, but also like they need to build a foundational strength base that is
Yeah.
like a really high priority with that age group. But yeah, like simultaneous to that, have to do constant checkups of their joint health and mobility.
That's what I mean, because you have what ends up happening is you have separate coaches working with students. Each coach has their agenda, and each coach wants to push their agenda.
Yeah.
And so if they don't communicate, they don't do the testing. You brought up Schlesinger, which I thought was great because that's exactly what they did, and that's what worked.
Yeah.
But what happens when you have a strength coach, you have a head coach, you have this, sports medicine individual working with them, everybody's pushing them.
Dude, it's
Nobody's
next
paying
level
attention.
if coaches could all communicate like that together and like figure out like and chart how much workload they're like hammering them with in practice. Because then like that's valuable information for me to know in the gym.
That's
Like, I
it.
didn't know
That's
that.
it. To me, that's it. I mean, that's all they really. If that's already such a step in the right direction for high school kids.
Yeah.
That you're so ahead. I mean, we were talking about Corey Schlesinger, who's ahead of the game in the college level.
I know.
If she's already moving, if this school is moving that way in high school, very few high schools are even thinking like that.
Corey's going to be one of the best in the NBA. Watch.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, shit. The Suns are one of the was the best team last year as far as
he's just
record-wise
getting
in.
started. So
Yeah, no, they're phenomenal. At he's phenomenal at what he did. That's a great episode for her. God, did you see that? It's 907. That's fucking. It was that long ago.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to send him a text because the season's over.
Yeah.
We should bring him back on because I didn't realize that's been years.
That's
then.
2018.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, we need some updates.
Yeah, no, we should definitely get back into it with him.
Our next caller is Abby from Wisconsin.
Hey, Abby, how can we help you?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
Good.
Good. So I just wanted to first say, like everybody does, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to take my question. I will just go right ahead and read my question. So I've been a personal trainer since 2017, and I started working in the gym from 2018 to 2020. And after I left the gym in 2020, I started to I went off on my own to work with clients on my own. I work with people both on the fitness and nutrition side. And I feel I have a pretty good understanding of meeting my clients where they're at. And I feel like I start to sometimes with working with clients, I can't get them to commit to sometimes some of the things I have them do. So I usually digress to try and meet them where they're at. I feel I put in all of this time and energy, and I feel I put my heart and soul into it. So my question is, when and how is it a good time to know when it's when you should let a client go? I absolutely hate the thought of letting clients go, and I know you guys have said before that it's ultimately a trainer's fault of why their clients can't see progress. But I was just wondering if there's a time to let the client go and try and keep some sanity on your end. I'd love your guys' opinion.
I think it's less about that, and it's more about you getting better at managing expectations. So instead of thinking that, you're putting all this energy and effort in these clients and you're working so hard to try and get them to get to where these results that they want, and they're just not following what you tell them to do. And then you're thinking like, God, does this mean I should fire these people? No. What you need to do is get better at managing the expectations. Like, okay, if you don't want to follow your diet, Susie, that's totally okay with me. I'll still give you a great workout when you come and see me. Just keep in mind what is going to potentially happen if you do that. So that's where you just need to improve on communicating to them when they're not executing and following through on things that are crucial to them potentially seeing what they say is their goals or what they really want, and really questioning that. Like, are you sure you're a 10 as far as like really wanting to lose these 30 pounds? Because you say it's really important to me, but then the things I'm telling you that are extremely important for us to follow and be consistent with in order for you to get there, we're not doing consistently. In fact, we're maybe 20 or 30% of the time doing it, which means at best, we're going to be lucky to get 20 to 30% of the results if we do that, which I'm totally okay with because I love training you. You're a great client. We've built a great relationship. You come in consistently to see me. What I can offer you is we are going to work out. I'm going to help keep strength on you. I'm going to do these things that's going to be good for your mental health. And I'm going to paint the picture of the positive things that you are at least doing, but I'm also going to be very realistic with you on because we're not following X, Y, and Z, that we're not going to see because of that. And so I think that's really what this is more about than like, there's very few clients that I actually had to fire or say like, we can't work together anymore. It's more about managing expectations, I think, than firing the client.
Yeah. Do you have like, because I mean, I did have a line that there was a line that if it got crossed, I wouldn't want to work with someone. And really it was just my time. So if I'm here and you're supposed to be here and you don't show up and you don't want me to charge you for a session when that happens, then I can't work with you, obviously, because now it's affecting my business. But if they showed up, if they at least showed up, I know that at least for 2 or 3 hours a week, they're working out, which is better than nothing, right? So that's what Adam's saying with expectations, 100%. Yeah. That's the point. That's everything right there, because at least they're showing up. It's better than nothing. But you also have to be honest when they ask you, hey, why am I not getting results? Well, here's why: is you don't do anything I tell you. And that's okay. Like, you got to be honest, but you also have to have your line, right? And then here's the other side of it. Here's the business side of it. Is there an amount of money that a client could pay you, a specific client that maybe you're thinking about, that would make it worth your while? I had a client like this. There was somebody I trained. They were the biggest pain in the ass in the world. And I said to myself, you know what? It would be worth my while if they paid me twice as much as my going rate. And so then I told them, my rates are going to go up, but this is my rate. And if you can't pay it, I'm sorry, I can't train you. And then they paid it. And I was okay with them being a pain in the ass because I got paid twice as much, right? So these are the discussions you have to have with yourself. But this is the hard part about being a trainer. You have to both take it personally and not take it personally. You have to take it personal in the sense that you're the guide, but you also have to not take it personal when they decide not to take your advice.
That's funny you brought that up, because I noticed that immediately when I was raising my rates, like how much more bought in my clients were. And it just makes perfect sense for people coming in that's like, I'm making this commitment and I'm tied to this, with a financial commitment. And it really is kind of one of those things that really maybe pushes somebody a little bit more into the serious side of like really like implementing a lot of what you're trying to teach and instruct them on. But at the end of the day, people, I mean, just getting there for them, you have to kind of put yourself back into that mindset. That's the biggest challenge, the biggest hurdle is to get them to consistently even show up. So it is a lot of like what I was talking about getting that expectation kind of back, celebrating the wins when they're there, scaling back a lot of the goal setting in terms of like, how can we now implement something really simple that is going to have a little bit more impact with this type of a person. So it's not like they feel like they're not accomplishing anything. Yeah. So
as you build your portfolio and you get more experienced, you're going to get better and better about fishing this out before you even get here. For example, like later on in my career, I started to do this thing that I've talked about on the show before, but I wasn't doing this for the first 10 years, where if you wanted to hire me as a trainer, you first had to go track for 2 weeks for me, food, your weight in the morning, your weight. I mean, I gave them a pretty rigorous list of things they had to go give to me before you could pay me to then take care of you. And what happened more often than not, people couldn't even go 2 weeks of writing down their food to present to me for us to start. And so right away I knew, like, if you can't do that when you're the most motivated and you're ready to make this change in your life, you're not ready to be a client of mine, because I'm going to give you a lot more tasks than just that over the course of the next 6 months. And you're going to have a lot more times when you're not feeling like it and you're less motivated than you are currently at this moment. You're not ready for me.
Yeah. Now consider that at that point, Adam had clients knocking down his door too, right? So you might not be in that position.
That's why I say when you build your portfolio and you get the experience, you'll get to that point.
Totally. But here's an example of being honest, right? So let's say I have somebody I'm working with, and I'm trying to help them with nutrition and they're doing nothing, right? Or they're doing none of what I tell them to do. I stop helping them with nutrition, and then they'll bring it up to me. Sal, can you help me with my diet? And I'm like, John, I'll be honest with you. I don't want to because we did and it didn't work. And I honestly don't think you're ready. So let's just focus on this other stuff first and let's be consistent with that. And then maybe I'll bring it up again later. But that's what I mean by being honest, right? You can be very honest with the person and still care and show up and do, get them to be better off than they would be without you. But you got to be very careful with the, taking it personal, but not taking it personal. Because otherwise it gets to this whole like, if you're not going to do what I tell you, then I don't want to train you type of deal, which that can often be worse off for the client. If you really want to help somebody, I've done that. I blew someone out a long time ago because of that. And then they ended up not working out. And I was like, shit, at least they were coming 2 days a week. Now they're doing nothing because I blew them out of the water, which, didn't help anybody.
Right. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I think I definitely put myself in their shoes where, starting back on my fitness journey, I wish I would have had a personal trainer. And I think I just understand, what such a great tool and resource that trainers are. It's just, I know I have to take myself out of that situation and know that every single person is going to be different. No, that totally makes sense.
Many clients, I guarantee every one of us in this room have had many clients where all we did was ACE. I have clients where all I did was focus on cardio with them because that's all that I could get them to commit to and focus on. There's some clients all we did was nutrition. I had some clients all we did was working, even though I knew that I needed to help them with everything and they would benefit so much more if they allowed me into the other aspects of their life. But that was all they would let me in on. And so then I would do the best I could impacting that little sliver they would give me. And then if and when they came back to me and were frustrated with not seeing progress or not, whatever, I would say, well, these are the reasons why, and you can drip that right while you're training. You can kind of hint to that. I think that a real good trainer can do that. Like in between the sets, you can be like, oh man, you're doing so good working out right now. I'm so proud of what we're living. If we could just get that diet dialed in, boy, I can't imagine the results. I mean, I'm saying things like that all the time, planting the seed to try and motivate them to want to be inspired to do the other things. At the same time, I'm also managing expectations by letting them know that's why we're not seeing these things, because we're not following those things I'm saying.
Yeah, you're, as a coach, your job is to have the door be open. They have to step through it. At the end of the day, there's nothing you can't force them through. Yeah. They have to be the one to step, but you always got to keep the door open. Just think of it that way. Let me keep the door open, and when they're ready, they'll come over. I mean, I've had clients lose 30 pounds in 3 years. It took them 3 years to lose 30 pounds, and it all happened at the end when everything finally clicked. So think about that. 2.5 years, I had to sit there, listen to this person tell me how much they want to lose weight when in reality they didn't want to do what was necessary. So I had to manage those expectations until it finally all came together.
Right. Yeah, definitely. It all makes sense. It just sometimes it tugs at my heartstrings a little bit just to know, at the end of the day, I have to refocus and come at it at a different angle. So
completely.
Yep.
Totally.
So
thank you, Abby.
Those are the challenges of being a trainer, Abby. You're not alone.
Yeah,
100%.
I'm getting there and I'm learning more every day. And and that's I really appreciate your guys' content, and I've gotten my sister-in-law on board with your guys' programs, and I'm in phase 2 of anabolic right now, so I am live and breathe your guys' programs right now.
Abby, do you have Prime and Prime Pro?
I have Prime, but I don't have Prime Pro.
We'll send that to
Doug,
you.
send her Prime Pro.
Before Adam loses his shit, I'll send that. I'll send it over.
He has
to you.
one eye twitching right now.
We'll send it over. Send it over.
Close.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
All right,
Thank you,
Abby, have a good one.
Awesome. Have a good day.
You too. Yeah, I had a client once, right, hire me because they want to lose weight, and then as we're training, at this point now I had been more experienced, right? So as we're training, they're gaining weight, right? They're gaining weight as we're working out through this process. And then, she asked me, she's like, why am I gaining body fat? I was like, well, because you're eating too much. You're not following what we're doing in nutrition. And they'd be like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, that's what's happening. And that's fine. When you're ready, then it'll go in the opposite direction. But at least you're here working out with me. And I would just be honest, you don't have to lie. You'd be very straightforward and honest.
Manage expectations.
That's it.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, that's everything.
There's a skill to that, though. There really is.
Totally. Because it's hard not to be like,
especially when you're new and you're so passionate.
Yes.
You're like this evangelist.
That took me years to get there. It took me a long time.
This is 10 years later.
Yes, it took me a long time, but that's where you need to get, right? This is not, you need to fire the client. This is not like you don't need to like have to come to Jesus and hammer them about things. No, it's just that, listen, some people are not going to be ready to commit to all the things that you want them to commit to for them to see these ultimate results, which you obviously want because it looks good for you as a trainer and you want to help people.
And you have the answers.
Right, and you have the answers. But the truth is, if they're not asking, they're not wanting, to your point, walk through the door. You don't want to shove them through the door. Just wait. But then you also can't ignore, like, here's a mistake that a young trainer, they start to get that. They're like, okay, well, then I'm just going to train them. But then they don't communicate while they're doing that, because what you need
you have
to do,
keep finding ways.
Yeah, you got to set the table for what's coming. That because I know if a client comes to me and they want to lose 50 pounds and they refuse to track nutrition or steps or movement or any of these things, and all I got is 3 days of lifting weights, the likelihood we're going to lose all the weight they want is probably really low. So I'm not only I'm not going to push the nutrition, I'm going to give them what they want, but then I'm also going to let them know, like, what's really cool is we're definitely going to be getting we're going to get stronger and hopefully speed up your metabolism, but until we get to the point where we're tracking calories, it's going to be real.
Look at that scale, though.
Yeah, so you can't just ignore that they're not following that and not communicate.
No, you can't not care. You got to care. You just got to find a way, and sometimes it takes years to find a way. I've had clients where it's taken years.
Right.
That's what being honest is all about. It's like you have those conversations, leave it alone.
Yep.
Our next caller is Cody from Wisconsin.
What's up, Cody? How can we help you?
Hey guys, how we doing today?
Good,
it's great to be on the show.
Chilling.
I appreciate you guys taking my call. Happy 4th of July, by the way.
Hey,
Up
America.
here in Wisconsin, Justin would love it.
Yeah, dude, give me some cheese curds, bro.
Yeah, so a little bit of background about myself. I'm 5'7", about 185 pounds, pushing 190, trying to be about as wide as I am tall. Been in the Army for about 7 years now, and I just got done with recruiting for them, actually. So I have extra special thank you to you guys for what I'm doing now, which is nutritional coaching, because without you guys, I wouldn't have discovered Jason Phillips and his team over there at NCI. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And so first question I got for you is what kind of carbs do you guys recommend eating for energy, like in the morning? Because I know through the courses that I've taken from their level 1 nutrition coaching, I learned that the carbs are like counter-regulatory to the insulin production, or I'm all mixed up. You eat carbs, it produces insulin, which turns off cortisol, and you want to backload your carbs so that you have your cortisol curve lowest at night so that you can start producing the melatonin. And so I was just curious, what gets the energy going for you in the morning then?
Well, what do you need the energy for? Are you doing just a regular strength training workout?
Yes. I typically work out in the mornings.
If you're doing like a traditional strength training workout, about an hour and 20 minutes long, you don't need to worry about eating a big ol' ass carb meal before that. The carbs you ate the night before are going to fuel that. The only people that I would have worry about eating carbohydrate-rich meal a couple hours before athletic performance are people who are working out for like 2 hours, stamina, endurance, high-intensity type stuff. That's when it kind of makes sense. Also, you could also drink carbohydrates during your workout. That'll help a little bit with that. But if you're just lifting weights, you're fine with the carbs you had the night before. It's not something you need to necessarily work about.
I also think there's a bit of an individual variance
Personal
here.
preference here.
Okay, and so just so you know, okay, I built myself into the biggest monster I'd ever built, getting on stage and competing at the highest level without ever overcomplicating this. And what it looked like for me was, testing out different breakfasts. I did the carrying over the meal from night, like having the meat and rice, and then I'd have like meat, rice, and eggs for breakfast. Then I had other mornings where I did like a big oatmeal breakfast, and then I had other mornings where I did like a sweet potato with something. And and really what I was doing with that was less about like trying to break down the science of what's going on with cortisol and insulin, and more like, how do I feel eating this way, and then my workout 2 hours later? Is my performance in the gym feel amazing? And for me, it was oatmeal. Like I felt the best on that. Now, I didn't feel bad on those other things I just said. I definitely didn't feel good if I had something off, like a cereal or a big old like steak breakfast at that time and eggs. Like I wanted some carbohydrates for sure. I noticed a big difference. In fact, I noticed when I had 2 carb meals before my workout, I had the best workouts, the best pumps. the best lifting sessions. I felt the best when I got 2 meals in, which, so basically for me, that was about 80 to 90 grams of carbohydrates before I would lift. So that's what it came down to me. And that was so individual. Like, I would talk to all my competitive buddies, and some of them lifted better on lower carbohydrates. Some of them needed even more carbohydrates than that. Some of them chose different carbohydrates. Like, so for me, I mean, what you're learning in NCI, I think is important, so you understand how the body works and responds to all these different foods, and so you have that foundation. But as far as applying that to yourself for maximal results, to try and build as much muscle, get jacked like it sounds like you're trying to do, I'm doing the field test. I'm playing with the amount of carbohydrates and what type of carbohydrates, and then how does my workout feel? And I'm doing that consistently for a while, so I have a time to measure it and go, okay, 2 weeks of eating oatmeal every single morning at this time, and then having this meal, and then working out. This is how I felt. Okay, now I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to eat rice and this, and now I'm going to add a little bit more. So I'm going to do a higher carb, and then I'm going to go look, and then basically deciding what that is for you that gives you the best performance. That's my opinion on how I would approach what you're trying to do.
Are you working out really early in the morning, or is this later in life?
I probably have about an hour before I go lift. I've been making eggs and hash browns, like 4 to 6 eggs and then hash browns before I go lift, let it settle a little bit, and then, go and pump some iron.
Well, okay. So and how do you feel? An hour for a lot of people might be too short of a time window to eat, and then 30 minutes later you have your pre-workout and then you work out?
It's usually about 45 minutes to about an hour before that I eat, and then I'll take some go lift. And I guess it does kind of depend upon how big of a meal I ate for dinner the night prior, as to like how much hash browns or how many eggs. I'm not necessarily tracking my calorie intake or my macros right now. It's kind of just been like the intuitive eating. So,
okay, well, that, first of all, that will pay you way more dividends than trying to figure out what type of carbohydrate to intake. So knowing that is way more important. So that's another thing too, when we're talking about things, when we're talking about insulin and cortisol and things like that, we're also talking about priorities. And if I don't know, you can't tell me if I was coaching you and you couldn't tell me your carbohydrate intake and your macros on a regular basis, but then you wanted to ask me a question about what type of carbohydrate I take, I would push back on you and go like, you first give me that information so I can adjust your calories and your macros before we start getting into what specific carbohydrates to take at what time. And also, just to try this, okay, since you're working out so early and you have limited time, make a shake, put a half a cup to a cup of oats inside the shake with like bananas, strawberries, like, and some berries, and make like a protein shake for your meal and see how you feel. Do that for a couple workouts and get back to me with that loaded up of carbohydrates. So use dry oats inside the shake, use some berries that you like, so strawberries, blueberries, whatever, banana in there, and your favorite protein shake, and take that in, and will digest, break down, and get into your system faster than like your hash brown and egg meal.
Have you tried going into the workout fasted?
Usually if I was running out of time, or I just get up quick and I got to get to the gym right away, I'll go fasted, or I'll just eat a little bit of fruit for the fast digesting carbs there.
Have you noticed a difference between eating and fasted for yourself? Is there a big difference?
I guess if I eat like a larger breakfast before I go lift, I'll feel a little bit more, I guess, bogged down. The fruit and less food before I go, that tends to give me like a little bit, but it feels better when I work out, but I guess I don't have the endurance to lift as long, it seems.
Yeah. So. Something like that, then I would go with the lighter meal and then maybe drink some carbs during the workout for the sustained energy. Yeah.
I do have a wood powder that I throw a scoop in with my protein post workout. So
I mean, I want to get back. I want to get back to the priority list here, because you're not getting coached by anybody right now, right? You're just doing this on your own.
No, I'm trying to gain the knowledge to help coach myself and then pass it on.
So then this is important, because you're going to get somebody especially in the competing world. You actually sound like somebody who's like getting into the competing world the way you're talking, because this is the type of stuff that all my competitor friends would talk about, like trying to maximize insulin levels for max. And I'm like, bro, if you're not tracking your calories and watching those things, that that is so much more important.
They get
than,
stuck in the wrong details.
They do. Or they're like timing their meal, like they're making their shake in the locker room right after their lift because they're trying to hit that anabolic window. And it's like, dude, that is not that important if all the macros and calories aren't accounted for. That's so much more important. So I would be really challenging you in that of like, dude, be very consistent with tracking your macros and calories, and don't try and I mean, remember that we push intuitive eating on this show all the time because we were talking to generally people that just want to be healthy and fit. Like if you came to me and said, yo, Adam, let's get jacked. I want to put on as much muscle, get as strong as I possibly can and as fast as I possibly can. I'm going to go, okay, we need to track. We're not eating intuitively. We are going to get this thing dialed, especially if you're talking about insulin and cortisol and you want to get that detailed. It's like, we're going to start tracking and really paying attention because there is such an individual variance. I've seen all different types of foods affect all different clients differently. And sometimes the science lines up perfectly and it's like, oh, that makes sense why he feels better eating the carbs. And then sometimes it doesn't make sense. And so until you and I got dialed in enough to where we are tracking exactly how you feel and you reporting back to me, I'd want you focusing on those things first before I got into this stuff. That's just my opinion.
Right. Yeah, I guess after listening to the show for 3 years, I probably could have predicted to hear the individual variance answer and, start with the basics before we start getting into the scientific stuff. So,
yeah,
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm seriously, bro. I didn't even get this far into overthinking the process for myself at the highest level of building a body. It's and I would tease all my bodybuilder buddies that because it is what they like to talk about. All the science nerds like to get into how it all affects the body and the glycemic index, and it's like, man, really, honestly, it's about being consistent, good-ass programming, staying dialed in on the calories and macros, and most guys just don't have the fortitude to do that long enough and consistent enough to build these crazy physiques. That's really what it is. It takes serious, and honestly, the guys with the best physiques a lot of times aren't even the smartest guys. They have proven they have that discipline to stay consistent about stuff. So it's like, to me, it's first about building that consistency and discipline around tracking and paying attention to what you're intaking, and then we can start to get a little geeky about pulling and tweaking and I've done all this stuff too, bro, where I've backloaded my carbs, I've front loaded my carbs, I've carb cycled, I've done a low carb diet. I mean, I've played high carb. I've done everything in the sun to get to the bottom of like how my body responds best to all those things, as I think that you should too if you're asking questions you want to know about that stuff.
Just sip on aminos all day, bro.
Stupid. Don't do that.
Oh, punch side chest press.
Yeah.
Side chest press.
I actually I read a study recently that said that excessive amino intake reduces the dopamine production in the brain.
Yep.
Or you guys told me that. I don't even remember.
It was
It's
too
probably
many branched amino acids cause depression.
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess that leads into my next question for you, and that's how do you guys avoid xenoestrogens? Because I know you've talked on the show plenty of times about the rapid decline in testosterone in today's day and age, which is pretty scary. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that.
The biggest offenders, because you'll find them almost everywhere, but the biggest offenders are plastic containers, plastic bottles in particular. So avoid those.
Receipts from the grocery store. Those. So when you get the receipt, and it's kind of waxy. It's actually stupid, yeah, but there's a lot.
There's so many in that you touch with your hands and it goes into your skin, all that stuff. So receipts are really bad. Plastic bottles are really bad, and then antibacterial soaps and chemicals in detergents. Those are the main ones that I would look at. Now you can go down the list and you'll go crazy because they're everywhere in the modern world. But if you just focus on those right there, you'll hit the biggest offenders.
And I think,
you guys scared me out of touching receipts anymore. I never touch them anymore.
And this is actually on my mind as I was, rubbing my chemical deodorant on myself the other day and thinking about this exact thing, right? There's certain things in my life that I'm not willing to like break from. It's like my Old Spice deodorant that I just won't go with the all natural, deodorant.
You don't have to. It's just there are really good brands now that avoid the biggest offenders when it comes to products, and you can find them now. There used to be a very small market before. It used to be where if you wanted deodorant that was free of this stuff, you need to use the salt. It looked like a salt brick that you rub under your arms. Yeah. It doesn't do anything.
Well, my point of bringing that up and saying that why I was having this conversation in my head with myself was that like it's something that I hadn't changed, and it's like for me there's a hierarchy of things that I need to improve in my life health wise before I get radical about certain things that have been consistent in my life. And there's certain things that don't bother me to switch. I've switched out my laundry detergent. I've switched out my hand soap. I've switched out a lot of these things that's I don't have this infinity to. Like, it's not a big deal. I don't have like if Katrina changed it from Dial to whatever brand, I wouldn't care. Those things I don't mind changing. There's certain things that I do mind changing, and I feel like there's other aspects of my life.
You don't use oil of Olay anymore?
Herbal essence, dude. I'm all
Fuck
about
off,
that.
guy. So I just, I mean, I think again, there's a priority list here of things when it comes.
Yeah, that's
to
why
health.
I listed the biggest ones. Those are the biggest ones. The plastic
Sun,
containers.
Just get as much sun as you can.
Yeah,
dude.
those are the biggest ones. You do that, and you'll take care of a lot of
What
it.
the Teflon pans are high too, right? Isn't that another high one?
Yeah, but I don't know if that's a xenoestrogen, but you can get like, I don't know what they're called. They're pans, and they have a nonstick surface, but it's ceramic instead of the nonstick, Teflon type of stuff, which that shit gets off in your food and in your body quite easily. So you can find pans and stuff to cook with that don't have those chemicals as well.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I've switched to like the metal blender bottles and the glass meal prep containers and that kind of stuff. Stop touching those waxy receipts. So I've been I was just curious what it was that you guys might do if you even actively think about the xenoestrogen thing throughout the day. So
I'm drinking
Honestly,
out of my
avoid
aluminum
those-
bottle now.
Yeah.
Honestly, we're so manly. We need more xenoestrogens.
It's a good balance.
Justin takes the receipts and just rubs them on his face. And balances
I
himself
made
out.
some underwear out of them, so just make sure keep it in check.
I believe it.
All right, man.
Well,
Good
yeah,
stuff.
thank you guys so much for taking my questions. It's been awesome to be able to come onto the show. Been listening to you guys for so long. So
Thanks, Cody. Thanks
Right
for
on,
calling in.
right on,
Right
Cody.
on, dude.
thanks, guys.
Why do you have affinity up there?
I think you said infinity.
I have-
I have an infinity.
No, affinity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
It sounded
I
like
heard
you said
something different.
infinity.
Huh?
It sounded like you said infinity.
Oh, really?
But
No. That's why you could challenge me on the spelling on that one. I would have got that one. my lisp might have fucked it up though.
To infinity and beyond.
Yeah.
It really does highlight how people get stuck in the details.
Nuanced things. Yeah.
That don't matter as much as the big ones.
Well,
you
and
know?
that was okay. So I mean, obviously his goal was to get jacked, right? I want to build as much muscle and stuff like that. And then he's like, I intuitively eat, but then I want to know about backloading my carbohydrates for insulin and cortisol reasons. And I'm just like, okay, that's.
Well, he probably just learned about that. You know what I mean? Through
No,
the
and that's
course.
totally what.
Yeah.
And then of course the xenoestrogens and stuff like that. I mean, these are all cool, interesting, but there's definitely a hierarchy of things. So that
there's people I'm close to in my life where they're worried about all the EMFs and the Wi-Fi and the plastic and the chemicals, and it's like they'll wear crystals and shit to block all the stuff, and they're overweight and they don't exercise.
Yeah, they don't
and
even
eat,
exercise. Like,
They eat
what?
garbage, organic garbage, but it's still garbage.
well,
And I'm like, bro, if you just worked out and
or
fixed your diet,
even that, like they're not overweight and they're lean or like that, but they don't even strength train.
Yeah.
It's like the benefits of strength training for you will far outweigh
will-
grabbing the receipt or drinking out of
just strength training will cut your cancer risk by
That's what I'm-
25%.
that's what I'm saying.
There's nothing that does that as much
That's
as
what
that.
I'm saying is that if you are dodging receipts and wearing crystals and you're fucking not and you're all that you smell like a hippie all the time,
Can we
but
get
then
Mother Ayahuasca?
you don't
exercise?
you don't ever squat, deadlift, or lift weights over your head. Like you're missing the boat here
Yeah,
on
you're-
like what makes a big
You
difference.
have. I got a buddy who has literally a patch of grass that he puts under his bare feet while he's on his computer, so he can touch grass because of the.
Is this grounding?
Yeah, dude. And I'm like, oh,
I love what.
while you
yeah.
eat your donut. Come on,
It's
man.
fun to see what people get into.
You got to figure out the important stuff first.
Yeah.
Look, if you like our information, head over to mindpumpfree.com and check out our guides. We have guides that can help you with almost any health or fitness goal. You can also find all of us on social media. So Justin is on Instagram at mindpumpjustin. Adam is on Instagram at mindpumpadam, and you can find me on Twitter at mindpumpsal. How do I incorporate cardio and not lose muscle? I've seen people do this before where they'll start to lose the sharpness of their muscles or they'll start to lose the sculpt a little bit. And that's disheartening. But if you do it right, then you minimize that muscle loss or that metabolism slowdown. In fact, if you do it right, you can actually speed up your metabolism at the same time that you build stamina and endurance. You just have to be able to kind of program it properly. And the way to program it improperly is just to go do as much cardio as you can for as long as you can.
Right.